Wilson Yazzie, okay, thank you. With that, so I'll call the special meeting of the Health, Education, and Human Services Committee to order.
Because last one goes worse. No, you really look like a man.
Could we have the roll call to establish quorum?
Yesterday it looked like a sheep burger.
Yeah, I've seen that too. Did you eat any fish? Did you catch any fish?
Yeah.
Yes. You bring some?
Good morning, Health, Education, Human Services Committee, 24th Nomination Council Special Meeting, September 30th at 10 a.m. Honorable Daniel Iso.
I'm here.
Honorable Daniel Iso, answer roll call. Honorable Carl Slater. Honorable Paul Begay Jr.
Good morning, Delegate Paul Begay is on the call. Thank you.
Honorable Paul Begay, answered roll call. Honorable Pernell Halona.
Now, hold is present.
Honorable Pernell Halona, answered roll call. Honorable Charlene So.
I'm on the call via teleconference. Thank you.
Honorable Charlene So, answered roll call. Honorable Edison J. Wanika.
Here.
Honorable Edison J. Wanika, answered roll call. Chair, you have 5 members present.
Thank you, Mr. Chief. With that, the meeting calls on Honorable Edison Monica to provide us an application of today's special meeting.
Sí, así es el sí. Heavenly Father, we come before thee this morning. We're so thankful for all the many blessings that thou bestowed upon each and every one of us. We're so thankful for the safety of travel here, and we're so thankful to be here after a good night's rest and for that protection. Father, be with us in all that we do, that we might do so with that spirit. Bless us that we might be able to be in consensus with those items that come before us and ensure that those legislations be approved for the benefit of the people and for the programs that are presented them to us. And we're so thankful for one another, for the support that we have for each other. We ask that blessing not be upon our leadership, our president, vice president, nomination council, and bless our speaker that he might be able to continue to provide guidance that is needed. We ask that blessing be upon the leadership of the local level, the chapter officials, blessing that he might continue to provide guidance that is needed by the people. And Father, be with us in all that we do, that we might be able to provide our responsibilities in the manner we create in that side. And we're so thankful for the motion that we can do. So thankful for the faith of the people in answering their prayers. And Father, we are so thankful for our young people. Bless them that they will continue to pursue their education so that they will be able to provide the needed services that are needed when they have completed their education. We ask that blessing will be upon elders and will continue to provide us guidance with wisdom and continue to do all that they can to ensure their teachings.
Hello, this is Dr. Brown.
Father, we are so thankful for today. The prayer school and bless all those who will be attending, they must be protected from home, from evil, they must be able to keep the children. And those that are traveling, they always be mindful of the poor, always continue to take care of one another in a manner be pleasing to us. Be with us throughout the stay, Father. In the time comes, we ask you for your return and safety. These things we humbly pray for in thy Son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Tele. Appreciate that. Virginia, citizen, I don't have for the record show, on the Vice Chair Carl Slater has come into the meeting room. He's part of our full quorum now. Committee members, thank you. And as we go into machine count, and the moon, machine count is on it. It's coming for the line picture on ZQ. They will cut. Actually, I have it announcements, committee members. Do you have any announcements? There are no announcements. Then let the record show that Honorable Raymond Smith is in the committee room. Man, it looks like a
Medicine man over here on the side.
Is it silly? Is it? So I guess I'm good.
Somebody saw this.
So is it? So I guess I'm good.
The God should have been.
Okay, there are no announcements, then let's go to all the folks on the call. Please introduce yourself. We are on to item number 2, recognizing guests and visiting officials.
Yeah.
Antani. This is Derek Franklin from OPVP.
Good morning, sir. I'm trying to wear contacts. They really worse.
This is Monty Russell, president of Dennett College. I'm at the Saley campus, but I have Crystal Carr, director of legislative affairs, attending in person. Good morning, chair and members of the board or committee, excuse me.
That's it, and then honorable members of the HESI committee. This is Suzette Haskey from Department of Dennett Education, the JOM program.
Good morning, Chair, committee members. This is Michelle Morris, legislative analyst for Department of Health. I'm on the call.
Good morning, Chair. This is Matthew So with Department of Dennett Education.
Good morning. This is Michelle, Dr. Branzer, as Health Services Administrator for Division of EM Health Services. Thank you.
Hello, good morning. Austin Yazzie with Navajo Occupational Safety and Health Administration. Thank you.
Good morning. This is Dr. Brown, Behavioral Health Director, Shiprock, the Navajo Regional Behavioral Health Center.
Now they can
Outside.
Again, we're still recognizing guests and visiting officials.
Good morning. This is Loya Anderson with OLC on the call. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Good morning, Chiche. Dr. Perfilia Fowler, Division of Human Resources. I am on the call. Yate, thank you.
Anybody else? If not, let's go to item number 3, review and adopt the agenda. Ms. Benali.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the Health, Education, and Human Services Committee. You have your proposed agenda for the Health, Education, and Human Services Committee 24th Navajo Nation Council Special Meeting, 30th, 2022, 10 a.m. Presiding Honorable Daniel Iso, Chairperson, Honorable Carl R. Slater, Vice Chairperson, Place via Telecommunications, Dene College, Shiprock South Campus, in Shiprock, Navajo Nation, New Mexico. 1, call meeting to order. Roll call and vacation announcements. 2, recognize guests and visiting officials. 3, review and adopt the agenda. 4, review and adopt the journals. None. 5, receiving reports. A is the New College regarding state legislative initiatives. Presenters are Dr. Charles Russell, College President, Dene College, and also Ms. Crystal Carr, Director of Legislative Service Affairs, Tele College. B, Navajo Department of Health, Behavioral and Mental Health Care Services. Regarding a program at Shiprock, presenters Dr. Cindy Brown, Behavioral Health Director, Behavioral and Mental Health Services, Shiprock Region. C, Navajo Department of Health, and it's regarding an update on the Special Diabetes Program and Special Diabetes Program funding. Presenters are Dr. Jill Jim, Director of the Department of Health, also Kim Yazzie, Delegated Program Manager. D, Division of Social Services, Department of Family Services, Family Harmony Northern Treehouse Shelter in Shiprock, Nation, New Mexico, regarding an update on status of the shelter services and also a tour of Northern Treehouse Shelter. Presenters are Kathy Sosi, Principal Victim Witness Advocate, Shiprock Northern Treehouse Shelter, Department of Family Services, within the Navajo Department of Social Services. E, Navajo Occupational Safety and Health Administration, Navajo Division of General Services, regarding the Americans for Disabilities Act compliance and also congressional funding. Presenters are Austin Yazzie, Program Supervisor with NOSHA. 6, old business none. 7, new business. A is legislation number 0157-22, an action relating to law and order, health, education, human services, resource and development, budget and finance, and nominating committee, and the Navajo Nation Council, amending CAP-35-18, TSN Fund Power Line and Chapter Project Expenditure Plan to extend project completion deadlines for an additional 24 months. Sponsor is Council Delegate Raymond Smith Jr. Co-sponsor is Council Delegate Wilson C. Stewart Jr. B is legislation number 0168-22, an action relating to Health, Education, Human Services Committee approving amendments to the Navajo Nation Division of Social Services Professional Standards and Ethics Manual, removing the financial services protocol section and including the burial assistance and general assistance policy manual. Sponsor is Council Delegate Edison J. Monica. 8, close the meeting, announcements and adjournment, and the next meeting date. Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Molly. Motion made, members. Do we have a motion? I recognize Pernell Valona.
Motion, Halana?
Thank you.
Second, Monica.
Second, Delegate Paul Begay.
Thank you, Honorable Pernell Valona. I'll recognize that motion, and I'll recognize a second by Honorable Paul Begay, all the way from Kaiserslautern. Committee members, any thoughts as we go forward? Any additions?
Chair.
Honorable Vice Chair Carlos Slater.
Thank you. First, I don't know if that Chobani, oh no, it's still good. I just had a sip of it. It tastes pretty spoiled. Second, in terms of item D, that's going to be in person with them, correct? We're going to give it toward the facility?
Yes.
So should we amend the agenda to put 5D as the last item before number 8? And then I wanted to ask my colleagues what they thought about doing the legislations first. There's 2 of them. One of them is extremely simple. And then the second one, I don't know exactly how that will go. But that way we can just not have our dear colleague, Mr. Raymond Smith, held captured here to listen to all our reports. But
That's okay.
yeah, it's okay. Yeah,
That's okay.
but I guess So those are the two things. One, I will motion after maybe some discussion to move 5D to the last item before 8. And then I will move to put the legislations first if colleagues believe that makes sense. Otherwise, we can switch that as is.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Slater. There are two facilities that we will be visiting. The Northern Treehouse Shelter, as well as the, where is we will be also doing a walkthrough on the new science building where we, the committee had attended the groundbreaking. There was another facility we were gonna visit. The domestic violence shelter. Oh, the one for mental and behavioral health. Dr. Brander's facility at Dr. Ransler, I need your assistant. B.
Good morning, Chair. I'm sorry, I missed the question.
The name of the facility that you were at before you took over there. Okay.
To visit?
Yes.
Okay, it is called Navajo Regional Behavioral Health Center, and an acronym is NORBIC, NRBHC.
Okay, so those are the three facilities we would do a visit to and walk through committee members. The intent and purposes is to see how we could expand programs much similar into the other agencies. And we hope that Honorable Raymond Smith, since he's on the DNR, will come along and visit the facilities. Thank you. With those committee members, with those changes as requested, let's take care of the business here. And then the site visits will be at the end. First, the classroom facilities, the science and technology building, and we will drive to the other two facilities. David Alovich, committee members, is that? Okay, Honorable Pernell Helena consents. Honorable Paul Begay, you'll have to do the site visits virtually.
Just FaceTime. Go on.
Oh, Shache, Abila, thank you.
Thank you, Shache. With that, committee members. Further discussion. Honorable Vice Chair Carl Slater.
Thank you, Chair. So just to clarify, how is that going to actually go? Will we do Diné College report and then?
And we walk through the report. And then at the end, we could adjourn and do the walkthroughs.
Okay. So just stick with everything as is right now?
Yes.
Okay. Well, do that.
Okay. Thank you, committee members. No other discussion? Let's, let me call for the vote. Ms. Chi? I just wanted to provide the roll call.
Chair, roll call vote to accept the agenda. Honorable Paul Begay Jr., how do you vote?
Delegate Paul Begay votes green.
Honorable Paul Begay Jr. votes green. Honorable Pernell Helena, how do you vote?
Votes green.
Honorable Pernell Haluna votes green. Honorable Carl R. Slater, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Carl Slater votes green. Honorable Charlene So, how do you vote? Honorable Edison J. Wanika, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Charlene So, how do you vote? Chair, you have 4 in favor, 0 opposed, and chair not voting.
Thank you, committee members. So we've adopted the agenda with minor modification. With that, let's go to item number 4. Review and adopt the journals. There being none, let's proceed to item 5. Receiving report. Gannett College. Shay. Okay. He basically said awkward.
Shut down, restart.
What are we doing with that? I thought we're doing legislations first, no?
Oh, when I checked back in with chair, I said, we'll keep them at the end, and then he said yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Yes, these, okay.
Hayat, Shaya, Crystal, Kari, Michelle. Zadishkiji Mishlanta, Big Bitcoin, Bashashin, Azasana Dashidot, Kadasani, Dashinala, Ado, and late one on Mr. Zidin, Nasha, Ado, Dinek College, Nashnash, has annual done that, Asian on this.
That, Dr. Russell?
Says Sydney Brown.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Okay, I'll do the, first of all, thank you, Chair, members of the committee, staff, and guests. We're honored to be able to present Gannett College and the legislative efforts that we have. I have in the room with you there, Crystal Carr. Okay. And Ms. Carr will be presenting the report, and then I'll add to it as we proceed. I think, you know, what we're focusing primarily on New Mexico with this, but I think we'll also touch in terms of what our plans are. You know, Arizona, we received some funds from the state legislature, and also the initiatives that we have for Utah now that we have a campus in Utah. I saw the agenda. It's very long, a lot of tours. So I'm going to defer to Crystal Carr right now to go through the PowerPoint, and I will add as needed, and we'll go from there if that pleases the chair.
Thank you, Dr. Russell. I guess the main intent and purposes was to update the committee on the legislative efforts, and perhaps we could do supporting letters or legislation for the efforts in all 3 states if necessary. That's the bottom intent and purpose, but we're
okay.
So the committee is ready to hear the presentation.
Thank you, Chair.
All right.
Carr?
Thank you, Chair and committee members. Hello again, and staff and guests who are here at Gannett College. Thank you for coming to our South Gannett College campus. So Gannett College has been moving forward with a lot of innovative initiatives, as well as keeping in line with servicing our students. We have reached about over 1,500 students this semester with an initiative, the tuition grant, 100% tuition grant. We're offering all students to attend classes. And this is through funding we received through CARES and ARPA, and we work strategically to try to leverage funding to cover this. And we hope to continue similar initiatives in the future with the support of this committee and Navajo Nation Council moving forward. We've also expanded our recruitment efforts to reach out to certain high schools through dual credit and offer other courses, and building those relationships with these communities so that way we can recruit more students to attend in college and receive educational initiatives and development so they can be successful in life. In addition to that, we've also have not concluded, but we're at the end of our strategic design where we have reached out to community members as well as staff, faculty, our students, and our college community in general to better align our goals to the needs in building this nation. As we move forward through this university status, we received a university status back in 2019. And as we move along, we have looked to create graduate programs. And we are happy to announce that we have our first graduate degree that's offered this semester, fall 2022, and it's the Master's of Biology. Other academic programs we have continued is the microsite. For example, in New Mexico, Newcomb, we have one in Aneth, our first site in the state of Utah. And we are working with the Delcon community to also establish another microsite there so we can offer educational services at these areas where students may not be able to commute very far for educational services. In addition to that, we've hoped to continue our laptop and Wi-Fi device program for students. This is where we allow them to, we assign them a laptop and a Wi-Fi device so that way they can attend school. Many students attend school through distance learning or through online classes. And we hope to just make them more successful in continuing this program. In addition to that, we have our dual credit initiatives, which I mentioned just a while ago. We have included agricultural classes in this to enhance the needs of the Navajo Nation because we do have a large industry that we could expand upon within Navajo Nation in agriculture. We also have, like I mentioned, our first graduate program, and we hope to add more to this, not only in biology, but also public health, business administration, and we hope that these graduate degrees, as we plan them, will ensure that we have Dene values placed in them, Dene philosophy, so that way these degrees and the students that are graduating with these degrees can go back to the communities and help their communities on the Navajo Nation. We have also established an MOU in public health with San Juan College and Dene College. So like I stated earlier, Dene College is a university. We are the +2. So students who are receiving their associate's degree, their 2-year degree from San Juan College can come to Dene College and they'll go directly into the BA program, BS program that we have at Dene College. And we hope to expand upon that, creating more MOUs with other community colleges in the region. Other academic programming that in the state of New Mexico, we have looked to grants as well as other funding under public education, also higher education. The state of New Mexico offers a variety of areas where we can receive funding. And one area we receive funding in is to establish our multicultural education program. And this is as a result of Yazi Martinez in the state of New Mexico. We hope that we can continue to add to the need of teachers, certified teachers, with that multicultural background so that way they can meet the needs of students from multiple backgrounds. multiple cultures. We graduated first class in fall 2021, and to date we have graduated 8 to 10 students so far, and we continue to enroll students in this program so that way we can add to that demand for teachers in this area. We also are continuing our efforts and partnerships with paraprofessionals with the Central Consolidated School District and looking for more funding to assist in this. As we move along with this program, although we are on our last year, we hope to add to the need of these teachers and continue to look for funding for this. So this is where I think the HES committee can be of support in writing support letters for us as we continue to look for funding to expand this out over the next few years. Our capital projects include these areas here: Navajo Nation Livestock Research Extension Center. This is a multi-year initiative, and I'll share a little more about that. And if you here on the South Campus, we have, if you look down the road here and you go north, that's where our extension center will be located. We have a large piece of land that we hope to build upon our agricultural initiative and our degrees, as well as work with our Dene College Land Grant Office to expand upon training for the local farmers and building additional farmers for futures to come. We have our Student Wellness Center that we hope to establish here in Shiprock as well. So we are seeking funding for that from the state of New Mexico through their Capital Projects Initiative. An administrative building that we hope to build to, as we increase capacity here at Shiprock, we need to increase our infrastructure so that way we can meet that capacity. We also have requested funding for a Shiprock operations and maintenance building as well. In addition to that, we have requested reimbursement funding for COVID and related costs as we move forward. I'll stop here, and if Dr. Russell would like to add anything.
Thank you, Crystal. I think as we're going through this, I see specific areas that we can talk about having support from council. I think one of the things that we're really focused on for the Shiprock site, we've increased enrollment. It's kind of gone down and then gone up, but it's gone up considerably at Shiprock. And we expect that to continue based on the new programs that are there, based on the new buildings that are coming. I think there's a buzz there that is helpful. The research and livestock center is something that is really much bigger than just that center. It also ties into what we're talking about with the college and this whole idea of creating a holding company and possibility of an LLC. And I want to first thank the council for updating our charter that was done and the work of shepherding it through by Honorable Chair So. This has really changed the landscape of what we're looking at as a college. And so rather than just programs and buildings, now we're looking at how do we leverage. And I think that's something that's really big here. What you're looking at right here is the potential of what we're seeing with the livestock research and extension. We've got the building, kind of hard, maybe Crystal, you could show which is no, not that one, but from that other, which one is the actual building that we're going to be, leave it on the other one, Crystal, that one right there. Nope, right there. And, we have a place for the building, but there are other things we've already laid out for the community farm parcels. We've already put drip irrigation in for community members to actually, who may not have land, that can use the land. And then with our multi-purpose building, they're able then to have a kitchen, commercial kitchen, where, I don't know if you all saw it, but just 2 days ago, Secretary Holland announced an initiative to get BIE and BIA to start using local farmers. The biggest problem why we cannot is the lack of a commercial kitchen that it has to go through in order to be certified. This building will allow and afford for that. And just think of all those schools around us, Nananazad, the alternative school, up the hill, you know, all these different, Baklabato, Tisnaspas. There are so many schools in that area that are BIE operated or tribally operated. It all of a sudden creates a market for our farmers. So that's part of why this is so important. The first phase is the building. We've got that money. We've got that money to build out. But the second phase is our other areas. So I think one of the things that we could see doing is looking at this as a way and maybe strategizing with the committee, how we can try to build on a multi-year approach, right? That's what New Mexico really wants. They want to see, what are you going to do this year and next year and next year and next year? And that's what we finally have in place here. I think the other areas, the administrative building, the Shiprock O&M building, those are on 2 different year cycles. So if you look at the yellow circle here, that's where the O&M building will go. And it'll be a small building. We're going to try something else out because we're so close to Farmington. Rather than building a large building with a lot of inventory, which takes up a lot of funding, we're going to try to do this in a way that most places are going now, being much more strategic with our funding going forward. The blue circle up here, you know, the light turquoise blue is where we're looking at building the administrative building. All right. So we're slowly, the idea of this campus, and it's kind of, you know, put in there, then the orange is where the math and science is, was that we would also create a circle for our campus at Shiprock South. That was the original intent. And while some of it is easier outside because we have some other ideas, dorms and whatnot, primarily the O&M building, we're trying to keep that idea going forward. So I think that's something that we would be looking at. I think the other thing is, even with Arizona, you know, we received $8 million from the state of Arizona to build a student center. And we didn't expect that. You know, we're thankful, we're appreciative, but, you know, once you open the door, it's easier to get through. When the door is shut, there's no way to get through. So we now have the door open in Arizona. So I think that's another way that we might be able to engage, being appreciative to Arizona for providing the funding as they did for the entire nation, you know, but it, you know, let's be fair. It's not like it's their money, it's our money, and move forward and things like that. So I think what I would propose based on what you had commented earlier, Chair, is to be able to maybe first get a resolution through our board listing these and asking for the committee support in specifics, a general maybe resolution of support, but then maybe specific letters. That's kind of what I'm looking at as I'm listening here and talking going forward. Because one of the things that we have is with these new programs, you know, the agriculture program, the biology master's degree, there's a need for facilities. There's a need for greater facilities, and then the expansion into the community. So maybe at that point, in the next few weeks, we could have that kind of an outline drafted for the committee if you so choose. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Russell. Ms. Clark, did you?
Just a couple more things on Arizona I want to share. We will have our own Dene College Arizona plates. So if you want to represent Dene College in the state of Arizona, you have your vehicle registered there. Starting January 2023, we'll have our own plate designs. In addition to that, I think one other initiative I want to mention is the Arizona Remedial grant we did receive from Governor Ducey, and we hope to continue that when we see the new governor take that seat. So your support would be great in that as well. And that was the first time we received programmatic funding in the state of Arizona, and we hope to continue that. Thank you.
Just as an aside, committee members, Vice President of the Board of Regent is Teresa Aklafi, and she's the appointed senator. That there was a lot of groundswell of support for that work. But Taylor committee members, questions, thoughts, comments? And Dr. Russell, Doe, Ms. Carr, and all the folks on the call, you know, in the land-based community effort, I know that the farmers in the Shiprock area, they all talk about how they used to be able to grow carrots and to grow green beans. And that they had a canning facility years back. And somewhere along the way, you know, that particular effort went away. But right now with this, what Dr. Russell has outlined, that may be the generator that starts the effort to have the use of the lands, increase the use of the lands, and then I like the idea of the community farm, because in the urban areas, those are major efforts. I know that in the South Valley of Albuquerque, there's, and it's led by a professor at the Health and Sciences, Dr. Magdalena Avila. They have a community farm, they have farmers markets that are swelling in that area, and they are, again, the main effort has been into organic farming. Thank you. I like the plan. Wonderful. Taylor committee members, comment, further discussion? If not, then the chair is open for a motion to accept the report. And we will look for the letter that we needed and then the resolution. But Taylor committee members.
Motion to accept the report.
Motion by Honorable Vice Chair Slater. Do I hear a second? Second by Honorable Edison Monica. There's no other comment or questions. Committee members, Ms. Chi, roll call vote, please, to accept the report.
Chair, roll call vote for accepting the report from Diné College. Honorable Paul Begay Jr., how do you vote?
Delegate Paul Begay votes green. Thank you.
Honorable Paul Begay Jr. votes green. Honorable Pernell Halona, how do you vote?
Votes green.
Honorable Pernell Halona votes green. Honorable Carr R. Slater, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Carr R. Slater votes green. Honorable Charlene So, how do you vote? Honorable Edison J. Wanika, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Edison J. Wanika votes green. Chair, you have 4 in favor, 0 opposed, and chair not voting.
Thank you, Ms. Chi. Then we will go on to 5B. Navajo Department of Health, Behavioral and Mental Healthcare Services. And then an update on the residential program that it's not the residential program, is it? In that case, Dr. Sidney Brown and as well as Dr. Michelle Renser. Dr. Renser, let me give you the table, and then after that, we'll go to Dr. Sidney Brown.
Yes, everyone. Good morning. This is Michelle. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Dr. Branzer as the Health Service Administrator for Division of Behavioral and Mental Health Services. And I wanted to introduce as well my colleague, Dr. Sidney Brown, but as a behavioral health, or she as the behavioral health director can share her screen for the PowerPoint. If not, Sid, I can go ahead and show the PowerPoint. But I'm coming to you from Window Rock today, and I'm Nast Ejanislan Tolbajni Aji Bashashin, Kia Ane Dashanale, and Torachini Dashache. Pass it over to you, Sid. Dr. Brown.
Good morning, everyone. I'm working on sharing my screen with you. And if I can't, I know Michelle can step up for me. I clicked on share screen, but nothing has happened. Michelle, can you help on your side?
We see the screen over in the committee meeting.
So it is showing?
Correct.
Okay. So this is an update for our program here in Shiprock, but we serve all of the Navajo Nation, including programs in Arizona and New Mexico and the border reservations of other tribes around the region. And we have been shut down as a residential program for over 2 years now, directly related to staffing pattern and also COVID. And we're pleased to be able to be poised to start opening our facility and to make it available for virtual open house. And eventually we will have open house on site. And I understand people want to do a walkthrough today, and I encourage you to do so. We're excited to have you come and see us. So we are a program that has 2 levels of residential program that you're asking about. The one we're poised to open October 10th is our 3.5 American Society Addiction Medicine criteria level of care. And that is a program that operates 24/7 for a 90-day cycle. And the youth program is a program that has been in place for over 12 years and has been in this building, I believe, 12 years. And before that, it was across the way in another building. So what we're doing right now is we're getting ready to be licensed by the Child and Youth Family Department in the state of New Mexico. And you'll see in the power slide, we have criteria that we must meet in terms of ratio of staff to child, depending on their age. And we accept children from 13 to 17. And when we opened the adult 3.1, we have been using that in the past as a transition program for those people who age out. Our youth that turn 18 can then go and be in the adult residential and continue services as needed. So the guidelines are very stringent. And when we had our CARF accreditation this last year in February, we were monitored by 1,400 standards, and we met them. And we received a 3-year accreditation, and they told us when we open our residential program, they'll come back to do the resurvey for the residential program, but we must be open for 6 months in order for that to occur. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So right now, best practice you'll see is the ratio of staff, and that's why we have to have a reduction of the number of people on staff if we're doing 24/7 services, because we are substantially below the number of staff that we need, and I'll show you that later. So the preparation for full capacity is that we have 5 zones of service, and those 5 zones meet the needs of youth, adult, and we want to have adult women with children, and adult men. And we've been working towards full capacity and meeting all the standards for the state and of Arizona and New Mexico and third-party revenue billing, and making certain that we have the quality of care that is required for billable services. So it's been an arduous job, but I think one that I'm very fortunate to work with gifted and talented individuals who are dedicated and who care about the program and care about our services. Our issue has been ongoing in the 10 years that I've been here is recruitment and retaining staff. We cannot compete with other programs like IHS, for example. Their salaries and wages are beyond our ability to compete. And so we really have individuals who choose to be here and to have continued to do their services and advance themselves professionally, receiving licensure and certification. And we really want to continue to enhance and streamline those services, and that means we need professional physicians. So the steps we've taken in reopening is we have already begun the process of screening potential candidates for the youth program, and they submit a packet to be considered, and we have all the necessary paperwork and authorization to work with youth before they are admitted into our program. The other thing that we have been working on is something that's called Smart Recovery, and I really encourage you to just go online and look it up. Dr. Gerstein is a retired psychiatrist from Harvard, and he has chosen to work with us in training our staff and giving us training modules and certification, but also assisting us to adapt that handbook specifically for the Navajo Nation. So think of it this way: on the left side will be English, and on the right side will be the Dene language, because we want to have a language immersion program, and we want to be certain that people are exposed to the language and very much a part of their understanding of recovery and wellness. So NARBIC has begun the process of applying for the YRTC aftercare grant. Michelle and I have spoke about that. We also have a traditional practitioner who has looked at the ASAM criteria. I can certainly send that out to you at a later date so you can take a look at it, but it's designed to be an outcome study that shows the entry point for individuals in the ASAM criteria, but looking from a Navajo perspective, and also measuring where they were when they exited. And the Smart Recovery has services for groups and individual sessions, but it also has a dynamic program that can be online and can be used with telephonic services, and it allows for aftercare and follow-up. So it's an excellent support system. We're trying to lay the foundation so that it can also be conducted in the Dene language for our clients who are fluent and who want to learn more of their language. We also have projected our next resurvey for the residential programs, and it will probably be April and May, and we'll keep you posted as to when they're going to do the site visit. Our last site visit was virtual, But when I was on a call to Zoom meeting for all YRTCs this week, I heard that they're starting to do on-site visits, and that's good news because I think they get to see a whole lot more when they're here rather than just virtually. Also, in that process of the revisit, they would be looking at the adult program as well as the youth program. So the youth program is opening up across the nation. I heard a couple programs say they're doing exactly what we're doing. They're admitting a small census of clients and getting ready to get back online and continuing to provide ongoing services. We have had a tremendous loss of ability to provide residential services because of COVID. So we've made it through, and we're almost there, and we're on the direction of getting us opened up and ready to go. So when the Navajo Regional Behavioral Health Center here in Shiprock, we have sought to get approval from CMS in terms of billing, that we can have more than 17 clients under one roof. And that's because of our alarm system, because of our swipe card system, because of the security of the building, and individuals from one program to another can't travel between programs and zones. So we're looking at that. I think that's going to help us as we go forward. The next thing I'd like to point out to you is that we have a self-isolation unit anticipating that COVID would still be a part of our experience. And that isolation unit will be to assure that they are not positive and that they can join the milieu. And we have a schedule for activities for them, mostly life skill activities during the time that they're there. And once they're cleared after 5 days in that level of care, they're then transitioned into the open milieu and would be with other patients. And so our schedule is, Schedule A is 1 week and Schedule B is the next week, and they alternate for the 90 days. And that gives a variety, and it also increases our contact hours for educational services. We have met with Dene College, and they are working with us to assist in the clients who want to get GEDs, also in assisting us doing entry and exit measures of skill and grade level. And they're helping us look at the new program that's in the state of New Mexico, allowing individuals to do online coursework to be able to get a high school diploma. So very exciting, collaborative with them, and we look forward to the work that we can do together on behalf of the individuals we serve. The residential program is a program that is a step down when you think of it from, it's not a full-blown residential program. 3.1 is like a sober, clean living environment where people are allowed to be in school, they're allowed to look for work, they're allowed to work on their ability to have a plan for graduation or plan to get their resume written. All of those things are things that they can work on. If they're already employed, they're allowed to go out to work and return. They have curfew based on the number of hours that they would be at work and their work schedule. We also have other activities that they are required to participate in, and that would be up to 5 clinical hours of outpatient services that they would be attending, individual and group activities and cultural activities that we have been. So this is something that we're bringing back that was in place before COVID. And it is also what I said earlier was where we put the children who age out and turn 18 and can no longer be in a youth setting. This is an example of our clinical supervision chart, but it's also a supervision and oversight of segments of our program. Right now, I supervise 11 people. We do not have a clinical director, so I'm wearing two hats. Wanda Westbrook, who has been our lead PSAT, principal substance abuse counselor in our outpatient program, is exemplary. She holds our program to high standards and is really instrumental in us having 3-year accreditation certification through CARF. She supervises 10 individuals. So I supervise individuals who are master's level, are working on their master's degree, and she supervises individuals that have LADAC or entry-level licensure or seek to be licensed. So she's now an approved supervisor for those individuals in the state of New Mexico. Melvin Joe is our facility manager. He oversees custodial, building maintenance, all of the work that we've had to do in the last couple years. After many years of operation, there was so much to be done. We now have a full commercial kitchen that is beautiful, and all of the equipment and everything has been delivered, and we're ready to start operating as a full service kitchen. We have 2 residential supervisors. You can see, rather than having a full workforce, they only have a partial workforce. We did have turnover because of retirement. We had turnover because individuals accepted other jobs. And we also had turnover because people moved into positions of entry-level counselors. And Rita Cansey is a supervisor of our administration operation. She helps with HR, and she supervises individuals who work with all the memos that need to go forward and FMIS and the things that need to be done. And right now I am supervising 1 student who is from Highlands University working on her master's degree. And so she's doing a rotation with us this year so that she can complete her requirements for her master's program. So what are our personnel needs? We have needs at all levels of care and all of the services, and outpatient in Red Mesa and Shiprock, and also the youth program and the adult program. So here's an example. If you look at how many vacancies we have had a clinical psychologist on staff for 8 months, and he left to go work at another site, and he was a part of the committee that the medical force that allows individuals to have student loan repayment. He received that. He was with us with 8 months and left. We have 2 clinical supervisor vacancies. We have 2 clinical family therapist vacancies. We're still looking for a cook. We just got word, and I did get to see the application of an adaptive education teacher that we want to be head of our language immersion program. And it looks very good. So I'm very excited to think we have that candidate. We also have a recommendation for another traditional practitioner that once they get through OBI, they would be coming and joining us on staff. We have a need for clinical directors, and we also have 15 vacancies for individuals that are the evening, weekend, 24/7 staff. So you can get an idea of what the problem is in terms of staffing pattern. Here's an example of our vacancies. I know that it's hard to see, but I really want to send forward this PowerPoint so all of you have a copy of it and you can look at it. But right now we have a number of applications for DPM positions, custodian, case manager, traditional practitioners, PSAT, a substance senior substance abuse counselor, a registered nurse. We have not had an application to my knowledge. We also have just hired a nutritionist, which we're very excited about. We have a need for 5 cooks. We have one recreation specialist that has applied, but it's incomplete. We have 16 applicants for PSATs, 6 for cooks, 18 for the principal substance abuse counselors, and 1 for the traditional practitioner. So if we add all of these applications up and vacancies, we need to have a staff of 70, and right now we have a staff of 42. So you can see people are stretched pretty thin. And then if you look at what we're doing in terms of third-party revenue, we are an approved site now for New Mexico and Arizona, and we are billing at the all-inclusive rate, and that's reviewed annually by the feds, and they make a decision what will be paid. And right now, they're in negotiation for all of the native programs across the United States to be looked at and considered as the special needs and costs. For example, in Alaska, it's much higher than down here. So that's in process, and we do have third-party revenue coming in as a result of that. And if we look at the repairs that we've done so far, a lot has happened. The water heater, we're still waiting for replacement that we need for the other sections of the building. The backup generator, we're still waiting for approval. There's a fire panel. Everything was completed, except we need a larger panel to accommodate all of the system. And that will be put in the next few weeks, as I understand. The kitchen contract is completed, and it's beautiful and well done. And I really appreciate all the hard work of everyone putting that together. Our HVAC system had 96 heat pumps. We do have a contract that was awarded to do much of that work, but there is one that is still pending. And HVAC system is flushed, and that has allowed us to restore cooling and heating to the youth section, where we'll be opening on October 10th. We also have moved administrative offices. I am now in the former CD position office, so that we can prepare Zone 5 for adult services for men. And we're looking at moving all of administration over to the red module. That's what we call it, the module next to us that will house administration and also some of the maintenance workers and custodial service staff. And we now have an operational system for the hot water for the YRTC, thanks to all the hard work everyone has done. So our task is to prepare for our residential CARF resurvey. And as I said earlier, it's probably going to be in April or May. We have to send forward a request for an invoice. Then the invoice is approved, then it is paid for, and then the scheduling occurs after that. So CARF requires that we have, as I said, 1 client in the residential before 6 months in order for us to go back and be resurveyed. They did approve our certification for outpatient for the years of 2021, 22, 23. It will need to be resurveyed November of 2023 for the next 3 years. And we've been fortunate all the times that we've had CARF accreditation surveys, we've received the highest certification of 3 years. And so we're looking at having in the adult section a capacity for 12 men and 12 women. It's a quick overview, gives you lots of information, but I'll make certain that you have the PowerPoint that I just presented so you can see the work that we're doing. And I can tell you that it's hard for me to hear individuals in the classroom at the echo. So if you have a mic, if you have questions, please ask Michelle and I, and we'll answer your questions. And thank you for the opportunity to give you the update and to invite you to come visit our building.
Great. Well, thank you, Sid or Dr. Brown, for the PowerPoint. And yes, we will get that out as well as our written report for the HES committee for today's meeting. I just wanted to elaborate a minute or two on some of the highlighted areas, of course, with personnel and staffing issues. So the real issues, as Sid mentioned, is really helping us to build our workforce, attract or recruit, or to maintain their employment here. So one thing we have been doing, which isn't in the PowerPoint, but more on the DBMHS Central, is to work on a premium scale approval with DPM, which is more for the clinical positions, as you saw, that have been remaining vacant for a long period of time. The other one is also to request with DPM to look at our applicants' assessments, as they are the ones tasked to do that once the applicants are or have applied. And it is more of a issue that I guess we need to do working amongst programs. But just as an example, I was made aware there were 4 applicants for the cook position, but none were deemed qualified, and I'm not sure why. Substance abuse counselors, the principal, which is an independently licensed one, there were 10 applicants, but none were, as far as of those 10 were referred for interview. The residential guidance technicians, those are the ones that provide the 24/7 care for these different zones for residential. 15 applied, but we did not get any applicants from that. So I'm really trying to work with DPM to see how we can problem solve these areas. And lastly, the one is with the HRSA loan repayment program for clinicians and nurses. It stands for Health Resources and Services Administration. We can create our own profile page, which will help us to be known as a site that is approved for individuals that also get approved through the HRSA program for loan repayment, and that can be up to $100,000 in loan repayment. So that is a really good opportunity for clinicians. Obviously, we have our debt, if you will, from school. But again, it's working with DPM because we still have to follow our DPM policy procedures for applicants. And that would just need to be formalized more. So I just wanted to add that so that you are aware also that at the central level, we are really trying to problem solve these areas for personnel issues. So thank you. And yes, like Dr. Brown said, we welcome any questions or comments.
Thank you, Dr. Renser and Dr. Brown. Committee members, any questions, comments? Honorable Navajo.
Thank you, Chair and Dr. Brancer and Mr. Brown. Thank you very much for your presentation. I appreciate that. And all these programs that you're putting together is long overdue. We need to have it done sooner, but I'm glad you're working on it and making it better for the people to come in and get their behavioral health taken care of. We appreciate that. And any help that we can give you moving forward, we appreciate that. Just let us know in the memo what you need to have done and we'll be able to help you. Thank you, Chair. Motion, Alona.
Motion to accept the report, Honorable Fernando Colonna. Honorable Vice Chair Carl Slater.
I'll second, and then I have a question.
Yes, go ahead with your question to recognize the second to the motion to accept the report. Honorable Slater, go ahead.
Thank you, and it sounds like things are humming along, but in terms of the hiring, that's where I wanted to hone in, and it seems like that was one problem area within the report. I'm not sure if it's actually contained in the PowerPoint. There's a lot of information in the PowerPoint, which is good in terms of detail for us to review, but it would have been better if it had been sent out earlier, so we could have reviewed that. If there's a summary, I guess, of the needs that, or ways in which the committee can assist the program, and that could be put together, I'd love to see that. But what has the response been from DPM? I mean, it sounds like there are dozens of applicants for these positions. Are they saying they're not qualified, or can you explain a little bit more about why, if you have 9 or 15 applicants, what's going on there? I mean, I don't remember what the number was for the cook positions, but 5? Yeah, at least, I mean, what? I mean, you don't have to have like a pastry chef degree from like the Cordon Bleu. Like, why can't people get hired? It doesn't seem like the program's enforcing something. So can you explain that? Because we're trying to work with human resources to get people hired.
This is Dr. Brown. I would like to say that my greatest concern over the 10 years that I've been here on site and being a part of the team is that I see us getting minimal referrals for interviews, and I experience individuals who are qualified, who come see us, talk about applying, and then they are told that they are not qualified. And so I asked Michelle to step up and help us with this problem. And as I understand, she's now been authorized to screen some of those applicants that come in and be involved in the decision process. When you have years of experience and you have, I have a master's in guidance and counseling. That was my first master's. And I was qualified to do analysis of individuals to be placed in work sites. And so when I'm told I'm not qualified, that's a little concerning for me. And I got that master's in 1974. My next master's was in clinical psychology. So and my doctorate is clinical psychology. So individuals can look at candidates and not see what we see as their potential to be trained in a stepping stone process of career advancement, and they may not see that they could be qualified for our setting. So that's my greatest concern, and I do think it is a contributing factor to our vacancies. And I'll turn it over to Michelle.
Thank you, Sid, Dr. Brown, and thank you, Delegate Slater, Honorable Slater, for asking that question, because that is one that is, been around, as we said, for quite some time. And Sid is correct. When I first came on as the delegated HSA, I was trained in the assessment process, like after DPM receives the application, but then that was reverted. So I would say by maybe February of this year, I have not been able to review any of those assessments. So, again, that might be an interdepartmental issue. And so, but really what I have found is that the job descriptions, are written in a certain manner to hopefully, find those qualified candidates. However, what that also does is when people are, meaning like whoever the assessors are for the applicants and their resumes and their whatever certifications they have, if they don't word something correctly in that application or resume or certification level, they don't get that check mark saying that they met a criteria. And so what I was hoping to do is to review those assessments so that, let's just say for a clinician or the principal substance abuse counselor, which had 10 applicants, but really there was no referrals. So that would mean perhaps maybe, like Sid said, she's working with one student from Highlands University out in the Farmington area. If there are individuals that are at a level of their education or working towards those entry-level type of positions, how can we work with DPM so that those assessments just don't automatically say not qualified because something's not worded correctly, or in some of those cases, they haven't obtained their independent licensure. However, they may have the background that we are looking for, that we can help train and move into a position that eventually, they will have that independent licensure, let's just say. Or maybe they come with something else going on with their education. Maybe it's not worded necessarily counseling, but it's a different type of, degree, that I think that happened with our registered nurse we had in the past. So that, those are the main, I think, nitty gritty that I have seen that makes it challenging. But my hope is with reviewing these assessments that were done, and I know DPM, they're probably limited in their workforce, perhaps, I don't know, but, just trying to work together so that if there are viable candidates in there, then I could assess, or DVMH's HR could further assess and really be able to see, which candidates can be workable, or just even have the interview, honestly. Because as you mentioned with the cooks, yes, they don't necessarily have to have a chef license, or I don't even know exactly what they would call that, but they have an X amount of years experience, maybe in the schools or some type of, care setting, and that's again the issue with the residential guidance text is it does say in that job description residential, but it may, in the assessment, it may not be thinking like corrections is a residential setting. If you're providing, in a detention center care to people in there, if you're a home health care worker, working out of a nursing home, that can also be considered a residential setting. So, but in your mind, if you're just thinking residential is treatment center, then of course that may, limit that perception of, or just viewpoint of that individual ability to qualify. So yes, I can write in a further report, if you will, more of these needs. But again, our pay scale is lower. And so really seeing if we can work with the approval of our premium scale for certain positions to be able to, again, kind of recruit in a sense more readily because our pay is there. And of course, like I said, the loan repayment program. So I just wanted to kind of fill you in a little bit more, but I hope that answers your question. Delegate Slater.
Thank you, Dr. Ransom. Committee members, other questions, comments? Honorable Janelle, hello.
Thank you, Chair, and committee members. I think, like I was just reflecting back on what Delegate Slater has said. We have to work with DPM to try to figure out how we can stop this interviews from coming back as you're not performing right when you put your application in, and how do you get a job, or how do you start working if you don't have the experience? And people need to get experience somehow, so when they get started working, that's the only way they get experience, and they apply for different jobs. But with DPM, I just don't understand how you don't qualify anybody, just because they're not preferable for the job, or I'm not exactly sure, but I know DPM has been working on this to make sure that the qualifications need to be fit, yes, but I think we're putting too much on the qualifications. Like you said, the wording is not exact. And but there are people out there who just are willing to work and help these individuals in favor of help. And so Like I said, we've been working with Dr. Fowler on this. And how we get about this part about non-qualified, because there's a lot of going on across the Navajo Nation where they say they're unqualified. If the guy's unqualified, why is he putting his application in for the position to begin with? That's what I don't understand, because certainly they think they're qualified, otherwise they wouldn't put their application in. So I think some of them need to be, you had 15 applicants that you said that you applied. Clearly, there had to be one applicant that would apply for the position that was able to do it. I just can't see going through 15 and having everybody underqualified. So that's just a comment that I had to make. And again, we've been working with Dr. Fowler to make sure that overqualification is another thing that we had. If you're overqualified, how do you get the job still? If you're underqualified, it's a different story. So thank you very much, Dr. France. I appreciate it.
Thank you, committee members. Anyone else? Thank you, Dr. Ransford. Dr. Brown. It just seems like the program that you are overseeing, the health center that you're overseeing, is a hidden jewel. You know, at the local level, at the agency level, and even Navajo nationwide, we see the aspects of mental and behavioral cases, the increase of crime, the increase of domestic violence, the addiction to alcohol and other substances. And so there is that real need. And so in that aspect, we appreciate how you put this program together and are trying to move it forward. And again, it's the only thing I'm remiss about is not focusing on this program sooner. And at this point in time, we will do what we can to get you the necessary support. I know that, you know, there is the national and congressional focus on mental and behavioral programs, and even from the state of New Mexico is one of the items that's really on the state government's focus. So we just have to get things rolling. In moving forward, do we, Dr. Branser, what is your recommendation? How do we expand the services? And then do we need to convene state or regional programs to help you? Well, that would be some thoughts that I present to you, Dr. Branster, Dr. Brown.
Well, thank you, for those comments and questions. I really believe, as it was stated earlier, is that, you know, the personnel is where it really lies. The only reason why is because, you know, as Sid said, and even for myself, coming back home, being Diné and working many years off the nation and then coming back, you know, we have a foundation. We just really need to be wise in how we build behavioral and mental health services on the nation. And again, one of the first initiatives, you know, started as the HSA for DBMHS is for the third party revenue, because again, thinking of our sovereignty and the way that we know how we can provide services for our people, we're going to always need another revenue stream. and other tribes that I have worked for, also maintain that as well. So really, in my mind, that's where the pay scale comes in. That's where, really working strongly with like DPN, the department that works with the recruitment. I go to their website often just to see how the JVAs or the classifications that we put for, are they being advertised on the website, that kind of thing. So, the recommendations really to me lie in that area, and also on those entry level positions. Again, I don't work at DPM, so I know they have their process and procedures, and I want to be respectful of that. At the same time, knowing that if things need to be changed or amended or revised, then, to help this area, because again, we're looking at individuals who, go to school and their desire is to work with their Diné people. And, we want to make it so, it's welcoming. And yes, there's still going to be layers, maybe a bureaucracy we're going to have to go through, but we paving the way, I guess you could say, on, in that way too. So it's a kind of multi-layered issue with personnel, or with, bringing people back home myself. But I really feel like even myself is a good example of being educated off the nation, spending over 20 years off the nation, obviously working for other nations typically, but, knowing that I'm going to come back to Navajo and I want to work with my own people too. So, I think a lot of that is just, like I said, a foundation has been built, which is good, but we can always, kind of remodel, if you will, make sure that bringing it to today's times, and how do we work that? And then of course we know our Navajo Nation processes don't move as quickly as we would like them to. So the support from the HES committee would be gratefully appreciated, knowing that, these are, interesting times in a sense of COVID and the pandemic and other things we're aware of with our health orders and whatnot. But we just want to make sure we're building wisely, because there is so many areas to expand, like detoxification surveys. I appreciate the committee supporting detoxification services and transitional services, which was mentioned in the PowerPoint, but that takes more personnel as well to do that. And for some of more of the medical staff, I'm looking for MOUs with, since Shiprock, the treatment center there in Norbig is right next to the IHS facility. So when you go and see it, you'll see kind of hopefully the PowerPoint alive in your mind. And I appreciate it being like a hidden gem in a sense, because it is. When we brought the CYFD Children's Youth and Family Department from New Mexico, and they were just really amazed again what we have for our people or for other Native people. It's just, we're not able to function at the capacity. And as Dr. Brown has said, she's been here a little longer than I have, I think 12 years or so. I've been here almost 10. We're still really trying to make headway in these areas. So any, support on your end, as well, as we know this pandemic has really highlighted already needs that were there. And again, collaboration also with IHS and the 638s would be very, very grateful. As I've also looked at contracts for other outside entities, but again, we want to build also on Navajo and just not always have the contract be dependent to come onto the nation, if you will. So, but we got to start where we are. And so I just wanted to add those comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Brenser. Committee members? Within the report, we hear that there are some repair and maintenance that still need to get through the 164 review process to basically facilitate the October 10 opening. Committee members, motioning parties, could we in accepting the report, also authorize a letter to President Nez, Paulson Chapo, to help facilitate that contract authorization for fixing the items that Dr. Brown highlighted in the report. Water heater and what was the other item? I had pulled it up a while ago. Water heater, backup generator contract, and then a final fire panel replacement. Those items. Okay, with that, Ms. Loya Henderson, could you help us with that letter from the committee? Ms. Henderson.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, Chair. And I'm having a little hard time hearing you. Can you please repeat the question there?
Yes, the committee has already placed a motion and a second to adopt the report. And within the report, on the slideshow presentation, there is one slide that basically highlights repair maintenance updates. And there are 3 bullet points on that particular slide. And we, from the chair's perspective, we need to highlight it to President Nez and Chief of Staff Paulson Chaco to get these 3 items through the 164 review process so that the necessary repairs and replacements are done so that the facility can reopen by the 10th of October, 2022.
Thank you, Chair. And is the question regarding whether or not the motion, being that there's a motion on the floor to accept the report as it is, that you can accept that as part of the motion or part of the report? I just need clarification there.
Henderson.
Yes.
We would like for you to draft the letter.
I can do that. I will, on the 164 process and to Paulson Chaco and to the president. Yes, I can certainly do that in order to address getting the facility open by October. Okay, I will do that, Chair. Thanks.
And please share the draft memo or letter, and based on what the committee reviews, we might include the aspects of the personnel vacancies as well that is presented in this report, and that would also go to Human Services and DPM, because the facility needs to be fully staffed by October 10. Thank you. Committee members, any?
Yes,
Any further questions, update? If not, with the inclusion of the request for the memo, let's go to a vote.
Chair, roll call vote to accept the report from Navajo Department of Health, Behavioral, and Mental Health Care Services with request of the memo. Honorable Paul Begay Jr., how do you vote?
Delegate Paul Begay votes green.
Honorable Paul Begay Jr. votes green. Honorable Pernell Halona, how do you vote?
Along vote green.
Honorable Pernell Halona votes green. Honorable Charlene So, how do you vote? Honorable Edison J. Wanika, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Edison J. Wanika votes green. Honorable Carr R. Slater votes green. Chair, you have vote 4 in favor, 0 opposed, and chair not voting.
Thank you, Ms. Chi. Committee members, let's move on to item 5D. The Division of Social Services, Department of Family Services. One of the purposes of the meeting up here was to focus on the Family Harmony Northern Treehouse Shelter operation. With that, committee members, we have Ms. Trudy Sosi available and she is in person in the committee meeting room. Committee members. Go ahead, Ms. Sosi.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, Honorable Committee, HESI Committee. My name is Trudy Sosi. Before I get started, I would like to just give the floor for opening statement from our division director who's online, Ms. Deanna Nesbitt-Gishi.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, committee members. Oh, I'm in a hurry. They're sitting up here now. Okay, brother. Rub it in, rub it in. Item 5C, Navajo Department of Health. Thank you, Honorable Halona, Honorable Raymond Smith for the joke. Rubbing it in. Dr. Jill Jim, are you on the call?
Yes, and now I'm on the call.
Oh, you're probably also, Shadaza, you're probably also wondering what's going on. So we, committee members, Dr. Jill Jim, almost on a regular basis, we have a telephone call. And I really appreciate it that she calls me. And the other divisions, the directors, they don't call. They don't call, but Dr. Jill Jim
Always on the line.
always say, hey, Chennai, I got this issue. So in that case, she identified some items that she wants to really address, and so that's the reason we put her on the agenda. It's an update on the special diabetes program and its funding. So we have Dr. Jill Jim and Ms. Kim Yazzie to present their report. With that, committee members, we'll go to Dr. Jill Jim and Ms. Kim Yazzie.
Good morning, Chino. Kim is on leave today, so I'll be speaking on behalf of her. She's currently the delegated program manager for special diabetes. We did interview for the positions, and we hope that that the background checks and everything. I know there's a delay that we're also dealing with background checks, and We're just gonna have to see how long that takes, but we did, we are moving towards hoping to get a new manager within the next couple of months, hopefully before Christmas. And so I just wanted to share that information with you guys as well. And now also good morning to Vice Chair and the HES committee members and individuals on the call. The only update I have with the special diabetes program for Indians, there is a new application that is quite different, that Indian Health Service receives congressional funding for this program, and it's been in existence, I believe, since 1998. And a lot of the current programs across the United States have been continuously funded. But this year in their application, it's competitive, and also meaning that they're opening it up to other entities or tribes, possibly new tribes that have not previously been funded by SDPI. We don't know what impact the program will have. So we are making our application as competitive as we can. Excuse me. And so that's the only kind of news with special diabetes. We have provided tribal consultation comments to make sure that any new funding, I guess, processes do not impact us. And to that extent, I'm not entirely sure if what the federal government will uphold until we submit our application and see the result of our award. And right now with the new competitive application process, it requires a tribal resolution. We have been communicating with the funder, and that is still their requirement, and they are willing to accept a letter of support in the meantime from the executive branch, OPVP. But in the meantime, we would still need to submit a tribal resolution 90 days after, I believe, maybe after the submission or the award. I need to check the timeline on that. So since this is the first time in Winslow, and Tele Medical Center was also asking questions to the area office, and then we ended up in one conversation. I believe in order to not delay the requirement, I did suggest to Chair to do one tribal resolution. It's just basically a resolution that states that we are authorizing the 638 and the Navajo Department of Health to apply for the grant. I'm not sure why this is a new requirement, but it is a new requirement they didn't have to deal with. We also are in conversations with them about reversion, trying to avoid reversions of previous funding. We are still working with CPMD to construct the 2 wellness centers that we need to get built as well before the end of the year, so we don't revert funds for those wellness centers. There's 2 of them. But in addition to that, I think I just wanted to share that we are just asking the committee, the HES committee, that we will be sort of just giving you a heads up that we'll be dropping a draft resolution and start working on that with Ms. Michelle Morris and our attorney, and also just supporting the 638s that are involved. In regards to SDPI funding, I did let Chair know that there are other concerns or concerns that we probably need to consider in regarding how the SDPI overall allocation is divvied up between the federal and tribal entities across the Navajo Nation. And when I gather more information, I will let Chair know when we are ready for that conversation. But otherwise, those are my quick updates this afternoon. Chair and Vice Chair, back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Jim, committee members. As you heard, the processes for doing the grant application. It's not based on the fact that we're Navajo, we're gonna get a piece of the money. So we're gonna have to compete. So Honorable Pernell Valuna, you have to put on your running shoes. Committee members, what's your wishes in doing this report? A motion to accept by Honorable Vice Chair Slater. Second by Honorable Pernell Valuna. Okay, let's go. Committee members, any questions? Honorable Vice Chair Slater.
Thank you. So just to confirm, we need a resolution, is it by the 10th? Is that? We need a resolution passed by that time?
Within 90 days of submittal of that grant application.
Okay, and so it can be subsequent to the submission of the grant?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
But Dr. Jim, go ahead, continue, I shouldn't interrupt.
Well, I mean, that was all I needed to know. I mean, I was just worried because, well, the 5-day comment period, or something we passed on the 10th, I don't know, it'd be very close to get everything done, so 90 days, that gives us some more time. And when can we get the documents for submission? Would it be once that 164 has been completed? What do you think, sir?
Thank you, Honorable Slater. As Dr. Jim recorded that the grant application will be submitted with a letter of support from OPVP. And as she related, it's acceptable to the granting agency. So once we'll see how soon we can get the copy of that grant application to use as an exhibit to a Hess and a Navi legislature. We'll fire it off. Vice Chair Slater. Good. Committee members, anybody else? And again, as Dr. Joe Jim it seems like there was a program with IHS and then a program with Neville Nation. So that's what she's researching. Funding going to two different agencies where in other area offices, all the money goes to the sovereign nation. Mm-hmm. And so that's the part that Dr. Joe Jim is researching. Okay, the committee members. Any further discussion? If not, then a motion. Motion to accept that. I want on. Honorable Slater, motion, and Honorable Juanita already. Beat you to it. You're slow. Remember, we're in a competitive grant cycle now. With that, Chair, Chief, roll call vote, please.
Chair, roll call vote to accept the report from Neville Department of Health Special Diabetes Program. Honorable Paul B. Jr., how do you vote? Honorable Pernell Valuna, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Pernell Valuna votes green. Honorable Carl R. Slater, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Carl R. Slater votes green. Honorable Edison J. Wanika, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Edison J. Wanika votes green. Honorable Charlene So, how do you vote? Honorable Paul Begay Jr., how do you vote?
Delegate Paul Begay votes green.
Honorable Paul Begay Jr. votes green. Chair, you have 4 in favor, 0 opposed, and chair not voting.
Thank you, Ms. Chief. So now we're finally to the presentation. Where I had jumped the gun. Item 5B, Division of Social Services, Department of Family Services, and Family Harmony Northern Treehouse Shelter. We have Ms. Trudy Sosi.
Good morning again, HESI committee. Thank you for the invitation. And it's good to meet everybody in person, delegates. Before I get started, I would like to defer this time to Ms. Deanna Nesbitt-Gishi, the Division Director, for opening remarks. Before I get started, is that Deanna? Ms. Deanna, are you on the call?
Yes, thank you for the opportunity, Trudy. Good morning or good afternoon, members of the Health, Education, Human Services Committee. Thank you for allowing the Division of Social Services to provide an updated report on the Shiprock Northern Treehouse. We have been diligently working on getting the shelter open 24/7. And so we did take the comments and recommendations from the committee when we were going through the fiscal year 2023 budget sessions in regards to concerns as well. So we did hear and take proactive action to move forward. And we do have a report that was submitted. And so I do ask the committee kindly one request that when some of the Division of Social Services programs are going to be up for discussion on the Health Committee, that I be included in these discussions. I was not informed. Apparently, Ms. Angela Benali was contacting Ms. Trudy Sosi, and again, her immediate supervisor is Ms. Regina Yazzie. So I do ask respectfully, committee, if I can be informed so that we can make sure we get everything to the committee timely. And thank you for this opportunity. I turn it back over to you, Trudy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Deanna Nesbitt-Gishi. Okay, well, this morning, I would like to provide updates on the Northern Treehouse Shelter. As you know, that the shelter was established back in October of 2016. We were established as a standalone program under the former Straightening Families, and then it was a domestic violence advocacy program. So we were a standalone program at the beginning, and it shifted back to the Division of Department of Family Services back in 2020. So we are under Family Services, under the Family Harmony Program. And as of today, our shelter remains closed, but we are still providing program services. We closed January 10th of this year at 5 o'clock due to lack of staffing. At that time, there was only myself and 2 staff on board. And it was really a challenge to run a 24/7 shelter with only 3 staff. So we couldn't take any clients at that time, but we were providing services to that date to today. We are still providing shelter placement, crisis intervention, court support, legal advocacy, referrals. We've been networking with other shelters in the surrounding areas. We've been doing some awareness and prevention. So that was ongoing services that we were doing. With the shelter not being open, we had to work with the surrounding shelters, or we've been working with the surrounding shelter, collaborating with them to place families that call our hotline that we have at the Northern Treehouse. So we provide the transportation, we provide the safety planning, we provide, what we could as far as assisting with like supplies for our families, diapers, milk. We've been doing that ongoing, but that's from January to now, that's what we've been doing. And to this day, we're still short of staff, but successfully this week, we had hired one residential caseworker who started Monday. So it's just the new hire, and then my staff and I are up there at the shelter. I still manage, I still make sure that services are provided, which is one. I still ensure that the safety of the clients are, being practiced daily as we continue to serve them with placing them and then doing a lot of legal advocacy in the community. Also, we do have positions on DPM as of today. They were posted on the 27th. There's 4 positions that are posted for Strip Out Northern Treehouse Shelter. And then I'm awaiting on a maintenance technician and an office assistant to be advertised. So the challenging part is the advertising and the re-advertising. And this, the lack of staffing to operate the shelter is what my real big challenge is. I would have had the shelter going if it wasn't for the background check. Investigation takes a lengthy process just to hire one individual. But in the meantime, social services, HR, and DPM, they had meetings this week on the 27th to see if they can expedite some positions. So I'm hoping for a successful pool of applicants once the positions close. And also, VFS at Wonderot has met with public safety to see how they can expedite the background for the police department, to expedite their background to hire these individuals to be employed under social services. And I wanted to share that the staffing I have now is my staff, and I've been with the program for 5 years now, 5 years and 2 months now. And I have my other advocate, she's been with the program for 5 years, but she's been with the Navajo Nation for almost 11 years. And then my new hire has been with the program for 5 days. And he was transferred over from Department of Behavioral Health. So that is an update for our Northern Treehouse Shelter. In the meantime, we've been working, since we're renting from Navajo Housing Authority, we've been working with the maintenance tech to where they come in and kind of inspect the building to make sure everything's okay. But we are going to reopen. That's my 100, I really want the shelter to open. So that's the plan once the positions are filled. And I really looking forward to seeing a pool of applicants as soon as the positions are in. I think it's going to be on October 14th is when the closing date is. So that is my report for Northern Treehouse Shelters. Honorable HESI Committee, have any questions? I'm right here in person.
All motions are
Second. Thank you. We have a motion by Honorable Vice Chair Slater to accept the report, second by Honorable Remedial. Committee members, questions, comments? Honorable Remedial.
Thank you, committee members, and I'm just curious that, we've been visiting the shelter that was in Montezuma Creek. Landing, yeah. We've been visiting that shelter and they've been working the same thing, trying to get people to hire them on. At that time, they were using people from the shelter here to go out there, right? Maintenance man, different things like that, right? So what happened at that maintenance man? He didn't come back to you guys, or were you still looking for another maintenance man? Do you need more? Well, that's one question I had. And then the other one was the employment. Why is it taking so long to hire these people on? Is it the same thing that we've been going through with, I understand you said the background checks, yes. But are they qualified or not qualified? Or are they overqualified? That's the biggest thing that we're moving over against. So I'm just kind of curious about that, to see where, is there any selections that have been coming in, or is it just open, nobody's applying? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Colon. Ms. Sosi?
Thank you for the question, Honorable Halona.
Yes.
The first question, we do not have a maintenance technician at this time. We did at that time, but he had resigned back in April to another employment. And so we have no maintenance at this time under Division of Department of Family Services. And the second question, yes, it's the background check that is really a lengthy process. I did, for example, we did interviews last year in August. We had selected 4 individuals. It took 6 months for that background to get cleared in March. By that time, they already found a job. So it put me into that position to where I had to start over again and re-advertising. So that's the challenge that is faced. And the third one is they aren't qualified. I do get positions or applicants that are qualified for these positions. I would get like 8 and all I need is 4. So there are people out there that are qualified. It's just the background. And it seems like now that they know, they don't want to reapply again.
Chair.
Honorable Colon, follow-up?
Thank you very much, yes, Chair, and I don't know, what I'm trying to find out is your background check, why it takes so long, who sees all these background checks, where does it go to, why are you taking them so long? That's the problem that I don't understand right now. I know some of the other departments have background checks, they only take 3 weeks. Some of them only take a month, or 2 months, and then all of a sudden you're saying 6 months. That's way out there. You're right. Those people are not going to be waiting around 6 months for a job or they're looking for work. And so they take the first job that they get offered, and that is a problem for you, I understand that. So, but where does this background check go and why does it take so long for them to do it? Jim?
Thank you, Honorable Colon. Follow-up? Ms. Sosi?
Thank you for the question again, Honorable Colon. Once they get hired, once they're told that they have been selected, then the Navajo Nation requires them to get their own copy of their driving record. They need to get their 2 documents notarized. They need to get a police report background. I think that one's a challenging part because it's a fee. And once they get all that, they take it to OBI and they make an appointment. And once they get an appointment, they do their fingerprinting and then it's time consuming. I had applicants that would call me and say the police department is closed. And then OBI is telling them it's 10 weeks out before you could get your fingerprints done, and then you get 10 days after that. So it's just that process is really lengthy to where I recommend some kind of one-stop shop. To me, I was saying like a one-stop shop to where we should be implementing the nation to do that, because we are wanting employees to work for us. And not only that, the fees are ridiculous. It's like almost about $100 to get all this stuff. And when you're looking for a job, a lot of these applicants don't have that money. I mean, when I call and say, okay, you've been selected for this position and this is what you have to do and this is how many money orders you have to get. And sometimes, okay, well, I have to go borrow some money to get this done. It's kind of some answers I would get. So that's another challenging part.
Committee members? Honorable follow-up.
I guess where does this policy start from? I understand maybe it's maybe Deanna Gishi knows a little bit better, but Where and why is it so difficult for this to be done? That's what question I have. Derek?
Thank you. Let me, in the previous meeting, on both alumni and committee members and folks on the call, we understand there's a Office of Background Checks within DPM, within public safety, and at times under Department of Net Education. Now, we've asked those three entities to come up with a plan to make one. In previous reports, we were updated to get us, there's a task force appointed. And we haven't heard follow-up on that task force to make one office, just like what we're asking. And that hasn't come back to us, Honorable Hullo and committee members and all the folks on the call. So that's where we're at. It's not that the committee is just letting it happen. We want change, but a lot of it rests with the executive branch. So, Ms. Sosi, if you could go one more time, how many vacant positions you're dealing with?
Okay. Okay, thank you for that question, Honorable Delegate. So, well, currently I am lacking 3 vacant positions as a residential caseworker, 1 office assistant, and then 1 maintenance technician. So there's 5 positions. And it leaves us with 3 positions filled at the shelter as of today.
One more time also. Previously, it was operated by a nonprofit. Do they understand that? And then the nation took it over in 2016.
Thank you for that follow-up question again, Honorable Delegate. So the previous shelter was a nonprofit. It was called Home for Women and Children. And that was, that closed back in 2016 in the springtime. I was one who was the last director there. So I was employed with that department for 14 years, but it's been ongoing since I want to say 1980, around there, to 2016. So that closed, I helped, close that down. And then there was no shelter in the community to where we needed one. Farmington was getting overloaded, Kayenta, we couldn't place these clients. So what the division did, the previous administration, was took it in their hands to find a building. And they found where we were at now, where our location was at, and they started this new program. They developed it. That's how they established this domestic violence advocacy program. And it's consisted of mobile victim advocates out in the nation, and then it's community involvement specialists, and then the shelter itself with the shelter workers. So I came in on July of 2017, and I helped establish with the shelter that we have now. So that's how it was from a nonprofit, and then the tribes opened another shelter under the tribe. So it's the first domestic violence shelter run by the nation. And I see the difference between the nonprofit and the government running. So it's a big difference.
Tell us about that.
The reason why I say is because running a nonprofit shelter, you just have a board, a board, set of boards. We don't have to, we didn't back then, didn't have to get approval through different individuals, like for 2 months. to get supplies, food, or, you know, we didn't have to do that because we could just go over it to a board meeting or call a special board meeting and say, this is what we need, and they would approve it. And then we had, credit cards, operational cards on site, you know, and then the hiring process was a quick, kind of like advertise out tomorrow and let's close it Monday, see what we got, hurry up and do interviews and expedite the background. And we had funding for those types to where they paid for it. And it was faster, so we could have a new employee within 2 weeks max. And I was supervisor there. So, and then now with the government, it's a struggle because, again, hiring process. It takes a while to get somebody hired, and not only that, just getting some, you know, purchase orders and supplies, even that's the time, even applying for grants, that 164 process is really a challenge as well in itself. So there's a big difference, because I won't expedite, and then there's like a lengthy time for the government. So that's what I see and what I analyze in the two different settings.
Honorable Vice Chair Slater.
Thank you. So did the previous nonprofit fold, or like why did it, I don't really know the history of this. So did it, were they not able to continue operations on their own? What happened?
Well, it was doing good until the previous director, it was a tax, kind of like a tax, bad taxes for 4 years, and it caught up to the organization to where fundings are stopped funding. So they lost funding because of bad taxes over, I'm gonna say 200,000 plus, and that was hard. So they had no choice but to close that program down.
And right now, the facility that you're at, thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Slater, for your response. The facility where you're at, who owns the facility?
Right now, we are renting from Navajo Division of Social, I'm sorry, excuse me, Navajo Housing Authority. We are renting from them. We are on a lease, we're on a three-year lease. So we just got our lease renewed this January. So it ends in 3 years.
Committee members, any other questions, discussion? We will walk through the facility with Ms. Sosi, and that was one of the main purposes to meet here in Chippewa originally. Honorable Vice Chair Slater, go ahead.
Thank you. Chair, you know, I think we should meet with DSS and consider how we could make this one almost like an enterprise of the nation, and then future homes, and maybe they could coordinate better as the grant administrator, you know, someone that's going to UNHS right now, but you know, because this is a provisioning of services where you could also seek donations and external funding and things like that to supplement the ongoing operations that are funded under CIPSA. And then, is there, do you get VOCA funding too?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, I don't know. I haven't seen the government succeed in the program delivery up and planning. And then here, we're really holding them back with all our, I don't want to say it's the policies and procedures, it's just a lack of follow through. I think not having enough staff to actually complete all the needs, you know, because this is just one program among many that have background check issues or hiring issues, et cetera. So I don't know, that's my recommendation. I think you really need evolutionary leadership to make that happen. Ideally, I think we thought, since UNHS had success, or is having success from my perspective, I think all of our perspective, that if we were able to obtain that compact and contract with IHS, that would essentially create an enterprise in healthcare. And then maybe there could be a similar relationship between the shelters and that enterprise to do kind of the full suite of services. Since that grant is not going to come to the nation because our financials are so crummy, I think we need to look at doing something before that happens. So I don't know, maybe we could ask for a work session to start exploring that idea on how we could stand up some sort of enterprise so that they have more liberty in hiring and processing and all of that. That's my thought. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Slater. That's, and I guess since you brought up the Utah Navajo healthcare system, remember that this a teen used to be with the family treehouse. Remember, she had to commute. And so we've basically looked at how about what if we entertain discussions to have Utah Navajo take over this shelter, expand their services, because it's, I mean, we've seen their recruiting capabilities. And so that is something that I think we really need to sit down and discuss, because otherwise we weren't providing the services that the funding is there for. Ms. Sosi, I guess from the committee's perspective, no matter the challenges, no matter the, I guess, the upper level of management, how they impose these hindrances, I want to really express gratitude. Diego Bacuehin said, no matter what you're being told, no matter what's being said to you, you stuck with the program. And for me, you know, that's the biggest part. You care about the people. You want to provide a program and a service to the people that need help. And, so in that aspect, realize that the committee will the committee has to step in. With ALA committee members and Ms. again, we appreciate it. And again, as Honorable Edison Monica always says, division and program department staff, there shall be no harassment, no intimidation, and no retaliation to Ms. Sosi for bringing the issue to us regarding the programs, and the deficiencies in the delivery of services. With Ayla, you have a big heart, You have a strong mind. You have a wonderful spirit to stay with that program. I share that. Honorable Pernell Bloom.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thank you again, yes, for your service and for trying to help people. We appreciate that. Really do. The other thing I want to ask about is that, Utah Healthcare Service, Utah, the hospital was the one that came over, right, to take over that project. So if we had that same process to ask them to come over to this process, would it be them as well? It would be them as well if we asked them to do that.
We'll just have to sit down with Utah Navajo.
And ask them to do.
Yeah.
And that we request them to assist us in this manner.
Yes.
Okay, I think I understand that now, and that I think that'd be a way to go right now. Since she can't get anything done here over the last year and since 2016, something needs to happen.
Yes.
We really do need a facility for the people to have a place to stay, especially the troubled ones. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Edison Whittington.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation and for the questions. Sometimes when programs are not going very well, I'm always concerned about support from management. Is there a good support from management? I know other kind of big situation, because it's really hard to express concerns relating to management. So, but based on what our chair said, I think they need to be aware that in order to get some things situated, we have to find out how programs are running. At your level, you're doing all you can, but when there's no support from management, it makes it even harder.
Thank you. Ms. Sosi.
Thank you for your questions, Honorable Whittington. Well, the support from management from this administration to the current administration, I see a big difference. I kind of analyze a lot of stuff with the supervising, we have different supervision. The current administration, our shelter was a priority. That's where we established that program. And then when it came to this administration, I felt like no, it's not a priority. That's the truth, not just me, but probably my shelter staff feel like that. Myself, the staff I have. I'm still lacking communication. I had gone through 7 supervisors since I started in the 5 years. I had one that this oversaw. We were a standalone program. I felt there was a success there as an advocacy program, because I was hired to run a shelter. I was hired to run that Northern Treehouse shelter, and it was going good until the pandemic came again, and then the challenging part was hiring. I can say that I worked 7 days a week during the pandemic. I was there every day with the clients. So nobody, there was nobody to come in. I didn't want to overwork my staff. So as a supervisor, I took that initiative to do that during the pandemic. And that's what I show my staff as a supervisor. I don't think of them that I'm higher. I think of them as, I'm just like them. We're here to help these our people in need. Men, women, children, elders, they come to our shelter. Like a body, have nowhere to go. So I try to teach my staff that, we're here, we gotta be here, no matter what. And it ended up bothering me that I work 7 days a week, because I worked as advocacy for 19 years in the shelter. So I'm kind of used to that. And I have my family to support me, to keep me going every day as far as self-care. But I feel like, there's no communication, staff meetings and whatnot, team meetings. we have field advocates out in the field and they have their own supervision. I used to have that team to where I could kind of have a team meeting with them on our challenges and gaps. I don't do that no more. It's just me, the Northern Treehouse, and what I have over here. Lack of teamwork. When the shelter was going down, we had division of, over here, the DFS. They had staff there that could have helped us during the day to keep that going, at least for a while, the shelter. I had requested help, but nothing. But I feel that, that's where I stand, and that's how I feel. You know, there's no communication. I don't even know what our budget's like. I used to know that, you know, prior. Like I said, I went through so many management, and there was, you know, there were all different on management style. And right now, I don't know where I stand with my food. I don't know where I stand with, you know, nothing shared with me with that. Just if you were to ask me about it, I would not know. I would just give you the budget that I know, that I kind of already created with my past supervisor. I could just tell you that, but I wouldn't, if you ask me, what's your food budget? I would not, to be honest, I don't know. I know we have money for personnel. I know we have money, you know, because we're getting the FITSPA, we're getting the BIA grant, you know, we're getting 2 other grants, 638, and so that's where I stand. But I try to do my best at the shelter, and I just tell my staff, you know, as long as our rent is paid, our utilities are paid, and we have supplies there, you know, and we're helping clients, I'm good. But I just feel like that's just the way we are. But I am, you know, I work with my staff. You know, I wish you could meet them. I mean, you're probably going to meet them, and you can talk to them, and they'll tell you. They'll tell you. And may I add my stats for this from January to now? My stats that I've done since the shelters, we haven't sheltered anybody, but the services that are ongoing. We have served 92 clients. That's children and adults. That's with shelter placement, referrals, legal advocacy. When I say legal advocacy, we've been doing a lot of assisting with protection orders, like kind of giving them education about that, counseling, and then financial. And our bed nights for this year is only 40. Just for that January, when we were open for those 10 days, we only got 40 bed nights that time. So that's how my stats are for as of now. As of yesterday, because I got 1 client yesterday. So, but that's how the Northern Treehouse Shelter is. The status.
Thank you. Again, thank you for providing this information to us, and committee members. We just need to re-emphasize that upper management and the supervisors for the associate will be harassment, retaliation. This is a report that the committee has been seeking. Certainly, throughout this whole process, I think we're going to stand with Ms. Sosi, move the program forward.
Regina Sosi? Regina Sosi? Okay. I was like, Jay, that's the wrong one.
Miss Trudy Sosi.
Got it.
Okay, committee members, follow-up thoughts, comments? Remember, when we get to the end of our agenda, we will go through the walkthrough the facility. So there's 3 facility visits this afternoon. Honorable Renell.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And I just, you know, when you have problems with the people that come in for assistance, and that person needs a place to stay, how do you help them out? If they have any residence for them, is there any way where they can get a motel and stay for a few minutes in some place, or, you know, because it's hard for them if they come for assistance. That means they don't want to go home. They don't have a safe place to be. Where is the safe place that you can, that you get to them for them? What can they really set? That's the question I have for you right now, is how do you address that? Because there are cases, there are people out there who do have trouble. And they don't have a place to go. So how does that work with your program, and that you're not able to house them for a certain period of time? That's the question I have. Thank you.
Thank you for the follow-up question. Well, currently when an individual contacts our program and they need a safe shelter, we will help them get to a safe shelter. We collaborate with the Farmington Shelter, Family Crisis Center, Kienta Shelter, Landing, or in Gallup. And if they need to get out of their situation right away, we'll go ahead and assist with bringing them to the shelter. And you know, a lot of times these individuals, they haven't showered, they haven't eaten. So we'll pick them up there and they'll shower, eat, we'll get us something to eat. And in the meantime, we'll call to the different shelters. And it's really up to them on where they want to be placed. And if they say Farmington, we'll call Farmington and say, we have an individual here, can we transport them? Do you have availability? And most times they're really good about working with us when we're placing our families. So we'll place them up there. And then we'll transport them there and then go over safety plan, confidentiality, and then keep them right there. Then we'll do a follow-up like a couple of days later. So once they're in that facility, then it's that organization to continue to assist them. So that's how that process goes. But if it's like something after hours, like maybe 7, 8 o'clock, same thing, we'll take them back to the shelter and, you know, get them going with safety planning, something to eat. And then we'll take them to a shelter that has availability. With the other advocates that are out on the field, I usually call on them to meet halfway. Like if Gallup has a room, we'll meet in Burnham Junction right there. So that's how we kind of assist with our clients.
Wow. A lot of work. Wow.
So, yeah, so we have to constantly be ready, you know, if there's a crisis and go over there. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Well, what dedication. Committee members. So, committee members, this follow-up issue, let's put it on our next committee agenda. October, I think, what was it, 10 or 12 is the next meeting. Again, we'll address it with management, and Ms. Sosi will be on the call. Okay, the committee, if I could ask the moving parties to include that aspect into the motion to accept the report.
Okay, so for a follow-up on the 12th, I'll consent to that.
Okay.
Agreed, second.
Moving parties consent to that. Thank you. Ms. Sosi, again, we are, yes, we think we work hard. We think we're doing everything we can. What you tell us about what you really was, we are just amazed at your dedication. I see a lot of humans and those. So, you know that the committee supports you. Division.
Thank you. Yeah,
It's Angela.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Health, Education, and Human Services Committee. Just for the record, I did speak with Roslyn Gay this past Monday, and we did speak about the meeting today. So the Department of Division of Social Services was aware of the administration management. They honored that Ms. Sosa was requested by the committee to present this report. Yeah, thank you. I just want, because I think there was some concern by Ms. Gishi. I'm not really sure Ms. Gishi was aware of it, but certainly Ms. Gishi. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Chi, could we do the vote, roll call vote on accepting the report and schedule and follow up on October 12th?
Chair, roll call vote for accepting the report from Division of Social Services, Department of Family, and schedule follow-up meeting on October 12th. Article Paul McKay Jr., how do you vote? Honorable Pranal Halona, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Pranal Halona votes green. Honorable Carr R. Slater, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Carr R. Slater votes green. Honorable Charlene So, how do you vote? Honorable Edison J. Wanika, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Edison J. Wanika votes green. Honorable Paul B. Gay Jr.
Star 6, Chi.
Honorable Paul B. Gay Jr., how do you vote? Chair, you have 3 in favor, 0 opposed, and chair not voting.
Thank you. Committee members, let the record show that Honorable Charlene So lost connectivity as well as Honorable Paul Gay. With that, committee members, we'll go down to item 5E, Navajo Occupational Safety and Health Administration within the division of, Navajo Division of General Services. Mr. Austin Yazzie, are you on the call?
I'm Chair Daniel, so thank you. Good afternoon, members of the Health, Education, Human Service Committee. Asen hichakaw de sinks. Australia the aid shado, adon them shinige eight kappa him shado, not kite na ebashishing. My education dash shado, sit not janita. And it's great to be part of the committee meeting this morning, gentlemen. I got a request to do a report on American with Disability Act compliance. In addition to the congressional funding Navajo Nation receives. At this point here, I want to go back. My previous occupation here with the department when it started in January of 25th, 2022. So I'm going into 9 months duration into the Occupational Safety Health Administration program. At this time here, I have really no information to present to the committee regarding the ADA compliance on all the Navajo Nation buildings. So my recommendation as a supervisor of NOSHA is to have a collaborative effort from all the offices, for example, facility maintenance, to assist with the building assessments for ADA compliance. In addition, NOSHA will continue to be the assistance with communicating with our division director. And that's the information that I have at this point, committee members. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yazzie. The basis for putting you on the agenda was basically, the advocacy that colleague Honorable Eugene So basically pushed through the usage of Navajo Nation funds to make Navajo Nation buildings to be ADA accessible. And So that's, from the chair's perspective, I wanted to see how that was going to be carried out, as well as, the design of all public buildings funded by the Navajo Nation or from the state of New Mexico. I know that with the state of New Mexico, there has to be ADA compliance on new buildings, whether they be health centers, chapter houses, or Head Start buildings, senior centers. And how basically are you moving forward? The office of NOSHA. Mr. Yazzie.
Yes, thank you, Chair Daniel. So in general, NOSHA believes an employer's duties under the general duty clause are consistent with his or her duties under the ADA. The NOSHA Act requires employees to enforce medical qualification requirements when the failure to do so would create a recognized hazard causing or likely to cause death or seriously physical harm. While the ADA specifies that an employer is allowed to implement such requirements when failure to do so would pose a direct threat to safety or health. So NOSHA will make every effort to be consistent with ADA non-discrimination principles in enforcing the general duty clause. And in particular, NOSHA would encourage employers to explore reasonable accommodation that will allow otherwise qualified individuals to remain on the job while eliminating threats to the health or safety of the workplace. So currently, right now, in our standards and regulations in reference to OSHA Act, we have the 1926 construction general industry, and we also have the 1910 general industry that we are referencing for enforcement. And any of those standards and regulations, we did not identify any regulations opposing to OSHA to enforce ADA compliance. As far as the Native American Disability Act, I believe one core information is also being lacked as far as the standards and regulations, for example, for ADA compliance. Doors have to be specific in measurements to accommodate wheelchair accessibility. In addition to that, also the areas of the restrooms. So most of that, basically, we don't have any information to reference. Most of this stuff that I understand with ADA would fall underneath, as well as life safety building codes as well. That's the response that I have, Daniel, Chair, so thank you.
Committee members, thank you, Mr. Yazzie. Committee members. Also, the basis is the newspaper articles about voters having ADA accessibility to the polling place, whether they be the chapter house, senior center, Head Start, at the various chapters. And even as we move forward into the state and the congressional elections, how will NOSHA oversee those issues?
Thank you, Daniel, Chair Daniel. So I was in communication with Mr. Gorman, Leonard Gorman, and this was one of the discussions that was been brought to our office. And furthermore, we are working with the election administration to creating a plan for the areas in Utah chapter houses. Number one is that we will go ahead and make ourselves available to do a on-site assessment within those chapter houses and also bring back a report on their ADA compliance. That's the information that I had from this point in. Like, as I mentioned, Chair Daniel, so in our OSHA standards and regulations, if we do not have any regulation or standards that reflect the violation, we always fall back underneath the general duty clause of the employer. So in this instance here, ADA compliance would also fall underneath the general duty clause of the employer. So we will go ahead and make ourselves available to these concerned chapters, and we will also compile a report to meet those recommendations. Thank you.
Okay, committee members? Chair. We'll turn it over.
Yeah, Chair, thank you. And, you know, I still don't understand about exactly on this ADA compliance. You know, one of the main things you brought up was the election office. And the election office clearly is upstairs, and there's no way for a handicapped individual to climb that building or to go to that office for any reason. So those are the kind of things that we're thinking about right now is ADA compliance. And then all across Navajo Nation, there is several offices that have restrooms, but they don't have any place for accessibility for handicap as well. And then, of course, we need to build more restrooms as well, too, on the Navajo Nation, because there's a lot of people where the restrooms are out of service and for employees only. So it has to be a public facility, public place that needs to be designed as well for the people who are handicapped. But that's one of the questions I had was the election office was whether having to transfer their paperwork downstairs. I mean, it just makes it so hard for somebody that's on their wheelchair accessible. So thank you, Mr. Yazzie.
Thank you, Honorable Haluna. Do we have Miss Policy Nez with Dodie? She works many years with Office of Special Education and Rehabilitative Services. Ms. Sinez, are you on the call?
Good afternoon, this is Policy Nez.
Could you give us also, you have a long-standing employment history with the program, and what do you, could you relate to the committee some other background information on ADA compliance?
Good afternoon. As mentioned, I'm Policy Nez. I'm the Program Director for Office of Special Ed and Rehab Services here at Department of Education. I don't know if there's a representative from Department of Justice, Navajo Nation Department of Justice on the line. We had a meeting this morning. Mr. Yazzie was on the call for a brief moment, but we also had Catherine from Navajo Nation Department of Justice on the line. We had other representatives, as I mentioned, Leonard Gorman and Ms. Kelly from the voting office. So my comments, so if there's a Department of Justice representative, that would be great, because I'm not speaking from a legal standpoint. But the Navajo Nation adopted or approved the Navajo Disability Act, the Navajo Nation Civil Rights Acts for Disability of 2018. And that references, so let me back up. Let me back up for a moment. Tribes and tribal entities are exempt from the Americans with Disabilities Act. And that's what's causing some of the, as Mr. Yazzie mentioned, there's no checklist that's, so when folks hear ADA, they're well aware that the Navajo Nation is exempt from complying with the Americans with Disabilities Act. There's Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, where we have to, federal programs receiving federal funds like the Navajo Nation must, they cannot discriminate based on disability. So Navajo Nation receives a lot of federal funding, and so they cannot discriminate based on disability. And there's, again, are we giving up our sovereign immunity in that area? but we have to provide reasonable accommodations for folks under Section 504, and that's been on the books for many, many years. So now moving forward, since ADA does not necessarily apply to the tribes and including the Navajo Nation, the Civil Rights Act was proposed and passed in 2018. It does not reference ADA specifically in the Civil Rights Act. It talks about accessibility. Now, the law is on the books. Now, I think it's up to programs, as mentioned by NOSHA and others, to put those practices and policies in place, coming up with a format, checklist, if you will, for accessibility for a parking lot. How many accessible or areas do you need to have for people with mobility impairments to park? How wide are the doors supposed to be? How what should be the ramp? How should ramps be constructed? So on and so forth. So the Civil Rights Act is already in the books for Navajo. We just need to, as a nation, put the policies and practices in place and come up with a format for a checklist, if you will, for assessing those accommodation needs. And I believe that that's what NOSHA is asking for. Now, if we title that ADA, some folks might push back and say Navajo Nation does not need to comply with ADA. And I believe that that's what Mr. Yazzie was confronted with the Navajo Nation Fair. But the Civil Rights Act does exist. We just need to put some teeth to it, if you will. One other aspect of that, when we say ADA, we're talking about an entire act that has various titles, the Americans with Disabilities Act, that has various titles dealing with transportation, dealing with, your websites need to be accessible. If someone goes and registers at the casino hotels, are we going to allow service animals in the workplace? It encompasses a lot more when we reference Americans with Disabilities Act that's been passed at the federal level. If we're talking about an accessibility checklist, that's another issue. I believe that we can get to that policy implementation or practice very, very quickly. However, like I said, I think the nation really needs, if they are looking at ADA in its entirety, they're really going to need to sit down with Department of Justice and others to understand the entirety of why that was put into place. For federal programs, we have Section 504 of the Rehab Act to provide those. We cannot discriminate based on disability. We have the Civil Rights Act. And then for private entities, that's where the Americans with Disabilities Act comes into play. So I hope I explained that. And again, I wasn't prepared to to explain all that. And again, if someone from DOJ is on the line, it would be helpful to hear their perspective. Thank you for giving me the time.
Thank you, Ms. Inez. We weren't looking for legal advice, but some of the laws and regulations that you're knowledgeable about certainly adds to the discussion. So committee members, what I'm perceiving is that the Navajo Civil Rights Act in regard to disabilities, the 2018 Act, it seems like it needs an ordinance, regulations that would include enforcement and penalties. Mr. Castanelli, is that perception, what I've just gone over, is that correct? Do we have anybody from the Department of Justice on the call? Okay. We see Mr. Yazzi's name still on the screen. Star 6, mute yourself. Okay, obviously we need further research, committee members, respective of this. We may have to call for a work session. Or rather, do like one of the other committees, do a leadership meeting.
No comment.
Take on a little brother comment. With Tele committee members, I think, I mean, the whole Zoom call participants or the teleconference participants. We have a motion, second, to accept the report.
I was gonna ask, who did motion?
Ms. Chi, who, did we have a motion?
Motion by Carl Slater.
I don't think we did.
We haven't, oh, we
But I'll
haven't, sorry.
Motion by Honorable Carl Slater.
Oh, nobody put the motion yet.
Okay. Do I hear a second? Second by Honorable Edison Lanika. Committee members, in accepting the report, we will schedule a follow-up meeting regarding that Ms. Policing spoke on the Navajo Civil Rights Act on disabilities adopted in 2018 and how to move forward with the Navajo Nation implement certain sections of, let's say, American Disabilities Act as it applies to the program on the Navajo committee members. With that, Ms. Chi, call the vote, please.
Chair, roll call vote for accepting the report from Navajo Occupational Safety and Health Administration to schedule a follow-up meeting. Honorable Paul Begay Jr., how do you vote?
Delegate Paul Begay votes green.
Honorable Paul Begay Jr. votes green. Honorable Pernell Halona, how do you vote? Honorable Carl R. Slater, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Carl R. Slater votes green. Honorable Edison J. Winika, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Edison J. Winika votes green. Honorable Charlene So, how do you vote? Honorable Pernell Halona, how do you vote?
Mr. Chair. Before Halona just stepped out to the hallway, he said he voted green on his.
Okay. Let the record show Honorable Pernell Halona voted green.
Honorable Pernell Halona votes green. Chair, you have 4 in favor, 0 opposed, and chair not voting.
Thank you. Committee members, that concludes item 5. We go on to item 6, old business. There being none, we'll go on to item 7, new business. A, legislation number 0157-22. Ms. Benali, could you read that legislation? Read to the record, just make reference to it.
Mr. Chair, the legislation 0157-22, it moves on to the Resource and Development Committee chapter has to consider. So, just the title needs to be read into record.
Please do.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, members of the Health, Education, and Human Services Committee, you have your legislation number 0157-22, an action relating to law and order, health, education, and human services, Resource and Development Committee, or Resource and Development, Budget and Finance, and other committees, and the Navajo Nation Council, amending CAP-35-18 CSN Fund Power Line and Chapter Project Expenditure Plan to extend project completion deadline for an additional 24 months. And this legislation moves on to the Resource and Development Committee. The sponsors are Council Delegate Raymond Smith Jr., along with co-sponsor Council Delegate Wilson C. Stewart Jr. And the legislation has completed the 5-day comment period. Also, the transfer letters in place, and there were no public comments received. This time, there's a committee report attached by the Law and Order Committee, and it indicates a consideration of the legislation and recommends it do pass with no amendments, and it was considered on September 26, 2022. Mr. Chair.
Committee members. Motion by Honorable Carl Slater. Second by Honorable Edison Monica. Since Brother Raymond Smith made that long drive to get to our committee meetings, let me give him the floor to present the legislation, even though there's no question.
You insist I be right here. Ajuda, não?
Coffee, head of the class.
From this view, you guys look like you're in fish tanks.
Okay, the coffee, head of the class.
I can't about Shinai. Oh, not the Sintagi though, Sutsui. Oshkijo the Sintagi, Shinai. Budget, Health and Education Human Services, although she get, although she's not listening on the telephone, and then Shema, Charlene. So, yeah, now forgive me the time to introduce this legislation. Classing for listening and those that are here with me this afternoon on behalf of this important legislation. This important legislation is labeled as 0157-22, which is the extension indicated regarding the CAP 35-18. It was passed by the Navajo Nation Council by the 23rd Navajo Nation Council 2018. And projects are still pending. We haven't spent over 50%, and over 50% is still being held up. One of the major factors was because of this COVID-19. So we're kind of slowly getting back to a little bit back to normalcy. We're not out of it. The president of the Navajo Nation signed this, at that time, CAP for $100 million by the 23rd Navajo Nation Council, and a total of 229 projects to be funded. And these were like, for example, power line, water line, capital projects throughout the Navajo Nation, which is important. I would still like to see that happen. And a lot of our chapters are saying, but that may, we need an extension. And not only my chapters, but the 110 chapters were saying the same thing too. So I know that Shitsui was also on a notification of this. We were both notified, and I didn't mean to overstep his ability to get this legislation out, but I appreciate his endeavors and his support and the Health and Education Human Services support to give it additional 24 months, which would be a total of 72 months for the whole $100 million. Hopefully with this additional 24 months that we can get these projects moving. However, we have ARPA funds that are being looked at right now. And I'm hoping that these projects are not just set to the side and then we try to run with it after 2 years of getting, and then adding another 2 years. But unfortunately, I won't be here at the time that the 2 years are, I don't mean to say it in a negative way, but I just won't be elected again to be part of this CAP 35-18. I'd like to bring to light here, Advisor, Ms. Benali, thank you for being here. Under page 3 of 5, if you look at item D, this is all CAP 25-18. I think that's a typo. It should be 35-18. So if that could be corrected before it gets to Resource Development Committee, if it could get corrected before it goes to Budget and Finance, and then on the way up to Navajo Educated and Navajo Nation Council. That's the only correction I see that was in there. So back to the Commission of the Emergency Management. Our President John Inez declared emergency back in March of 2020 due to COVID-19, which is CEM 20-03-11. And that's what the Navajo Nation is still experiencing, and it's still in effect as of today. We don't know how long this COVID-19 is going to last, so therefore we would like to just merely extend the time frame from 48 months to 72 months on page 4 of 5, amending the CAP 35-18 as amended by the CJA-03-21. Because I don't have the Exhibit A, but it does list all the projects the 110 chapters have. And all the projects are in there. Some of our delegates are doing change orders. They're changing the, from another project to another project. And that just goes to RDC. And then Budget and Finance is the final authority on that. So there's a lot of dollars that are just sitting idle. And it's probably a plus too, because it's earning interest.
Pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, so we haven't really dipped into the 100 million, but we still got over 50 million that's still out there that needs to be completed. And I hope this is the last of the last request for the extension, because we need to get this thing done, get it completed. Whatever's left, give it back to Citizen, get another project going, and that's our people's mind. This money that we're talking about is that 554 million that the Navajo Nation had been awarded. And under that 554 million, they decided to put it under the Citizen account. And Citizen is now utilizing that 554 million that was awarded to us through the Cobell lawsuit. Just a little bit of back information on that. So if there's any questions, I'm here for the questions. I have my agent too, I think Mr. Advocacy. I don't know if he's on board with us. I don't see his name up on the list up here, but he's my agent for this. And I guess I can have Shitsui be my agent too if he need. But for listening to me and giving me the time to. And I enjoyed the drive up, and I wanted to present this formally to the Health and Education Human Services. Thank you.
Thank you, Cecilia. You're the vice chair of BNF too, right? Honorable Vice Chair Raymond Smith. I'll only put it to a vote if you say you're going to vote in the Chair.
I'm sorry?
Let's see. Committee running. Before we take it to a vote, individually, certain of us had been, some of the projects were deemed third year. And individually, some of us had pursued legislation to go to the fifth year on the third year project to try to extend the project without the funds being reverted. This blanket umbrella legislation, appreciate it. Right, see, I mean, really, you embrace the whole initiative. We had a Honorable Carl Slater.
Something I just thought of, and I was gonna try and devote some time to earlier this year, but didn't have time to do it. I know that Budget and Finance and RDC has spoken about turning this into an administrative process, the changing the funding years, not this extension part, but changing the funding years. And I wonder if both those committees are in agreement, if we should try and amend this at NABI or council to include that, so that everything doesn't have to come back to you, for year 1 to 3, 3 to 5, et cetera. I haven't exactly kept up with that. I've just heard different Budget and Finance Committee members say, yeah, this really should be an administrative process. But I don't know if that's the general will of the committee, but just a thought I have right now. So I don't know if you're open to that.
Okay. You want to answer that and then go take the question from the committee one by one. That way it doesn't confuse you.
Thank you, Chair Schneid, for allowing me to speak on behalf of Sutsui's question. At this point in time, I know that we have that change request, and that change request is done through the delegate and through CPMD, and it goes to RDC for action, and then RDC it moves into the Budget Finance. Budget Finance does bless that accordingly based off the change order. So there's really no debate on. They just make sure that everything is in order on behalf of that. So we got a system that's going pretty well without trying to reinvent the wheel. I think we should just keep it that way. It's a lot quicker, and RDC understands where they're at, and then CPMD assists them, and then Budget and Finance does the stamp of approval, and it's at that level. But if we start throwing anything in there, it might go through Nabucco. Then it might go through council. That's when the debate starts, Why do you want to change that? Who are you? All that questions will be popping up. So I think it's fair and square the way it is now. I think that would be the best method. I like it because I see some dollars that are sitting in one account that's over 600 some odd thousand. And I'm like, that's my area. And I'm like, could I utilize that for other projects throughout the 5 chapters? They're always like, we need funding here. Okay, let's group together and let's see if we can get that thing spent, because it's just sitting there. It's not doing anybody any good on behalf of just sitting there. So hey, what that's it, sweet. Thank you.
Follow up. Carl Slater.
Thank you, Chair, for that response. I guess what I was thinking is that we would remove the legislative aspect so that the delegate would just work with the DCD director. Because I think the system works, but what I've observed is that a lot of us basically clog up the Office of Legislative Counsel with the legislation requests. Like I've had one in for 4 or 5 months and it just dropped this past week. Well, actually, 8 months, I don't know. I mean, it's been there for so long, and our lawyers are so busy that I just thought maybe this would be easier since it is sort of just a pro forma stamp of approval. But just a thought. I appreciate your thoughts. Thank you very much.
Honorable Neville.
Thank you, Chair and committee members, and thank you, Mr. Smith, for bringing this legislation. I know I know that they do clog up the system with all the legislations. Yes, it does. And then you have to make time in RDC, you have to make time in B&F committee, and I know some of the committee members would like to just get this out of the way and not have to be sitting there worried about dealing with it. And if they did have it to where it was an administrative policy, they should have, they're the ones anyway who are billing the numbers and directing to the right charge accounts. So why can't they be the ones to do the performance and approve it? I don't know if there's another way to do it, but there's something else that needs to be done, because if we're gonna do this and move into the next 2 or 3 more years, you're gonna have a lot of change in orders again. Just like Slater said, I put in 3 or 4 within the past 4 months. I just barely got some of them back, and I'm still waiting for one to come back as well. And I don't know how many other chapters are in that position, but it seems like there's quite a few. But something else needs to be done so that we can alleviate the system, especially with the legislation, with our legislators who are having to write these things up over and over again. There's several legislations that need to be done. But I've been in the office several times just to finish one legislation, and just taking too much time for that lawyer to get through the drafting of this legislation. So, and it's gone through there several times. So I don't know what to say about it, but right now I do know that something else needs to be done to relieve our legislative advisors that are building these legislations. And because, there's a lot of legislation that are there. I haven't seen it for 6 months, like the legislator said. How do we, if there's a way that we can make it easier for them, maybe we should try to do that, because this is going to come up over and over again. There's going to be hundreds over the next 2 years that are going to change. I don't know if there's anything else that we can do about it, but I think what the legislator is saying is probably something we should try. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I guess that was just comment.
Can I add to that?
Go ahead.
Shanadab, I hear what you're saying. Let's try to streamline it, make it faster, quicker. I guess the best way to do that would be asking Department or Office of Legislative Counsel, where can we insert that? How can we lessen the burden of getting paperwork to you and putting it in the hopper and then waiting, because others do precedents. I hear you. I see that as a concern, but when it does become a legislation, it's easy because it goes to RDC hears it, and then it goes to BNF. But waiting for it to be developed is a question. And I think that could be brought forth with the Legislative Council to see how we could get that incorporated into language here. And I think that would be another amendment if needed to put in there, because this is going to RDC, and it's going to be going to Navajo, it's going to be going to budget finance. But for now, this is just an extension. It's an overall umbrella, like Shania said, on behalf of the 110 chapters, just to extend those projects that are still pending. And those other projects that are going to be changed order, that could be another legislation to amend the fact that how do we do the process on that? Because that'll still have to go through BNF and RDC for them to review that and say, without those links. And then that'll also include CPMD and Streamline, because they came up with that form. They said, let's make it easy. Let's just do the form here and then get it going. But to tie up this, when it gets over to the hopper, it takes a while. I hear that. So I do see that as a time frame that holds up things, because other things that go in there does take some time to get them developed. Thank you.
Honorable Haloni, you saying this is a small point.
Just a small one. I just wanted to.
We've heard that before.
I'm the one who talks the less about everybody in this council.
Sure. This is the best part of meeting in person.
Okay, so.
I missed that.
Yeah, no, we're gonna get to do something. I have spoken to Dana Barbara about this. That there is a simpler way to do this, and she has brought it up to me that yes, there is a simpler way to do this. But I didn't question her on any part of what needs to happen, but she said there is definitely a way that we can get around this so that we wouldn't have to run it through the legislative council for legislation. But she was wondering if she could find anybody that would be willing to jump on it, do it that way. And I thought about it, but then I didn't know exactly how far this legislation was going, but now I do. Maybe I should have jumped on it back then.
We'll just jump on as co-sponsor then.
I am co-sponsoring on this legislation. So that might be an amendment that we can talk to the legislative council and see if there's some kind of amendment that we can put into this legislation to make it simpler. I don't know how that can be done, but it seems like it can be done to change it a little bit. So we wouldn't have to run it through legislative council and waste all their time drafting all this legislation. It takes time for them to do that. So that's just a little bit I wanted to know, just to let you know that I have spoken to Dana Barbara about this because it does take a lot of time out of their time. Thank you, Chair.
Let's go, Shane.
Chair,
Oh.
this is Miss Bob Ross. I could add some info to this discussion.
Go ahead.
Were you sneezing when Honorable Helena was mentioning your name?
No, but I've been listening just for a little while. Okay, so I will. What needs to be done to so that these changes don't have to go to resources, RDC and BNF. Just the only thing that needs to be done is CTMD needs to put forth rules and regulations as to how they will do this process. As you're aware, committees can delegate their authorities to an executive branch department. The committees can delegate their authorities, but to do that delegation, the committee has to adopt rules and regulations. Back in legislation CJA-03-21, which Delegate Slater sponsored, and that was the one that originally expanded the timeline to 48 months. There's actually verbiage in there, CJA-03-21 amended Section 4, Paragraph C of CAP 3518 to state that the approvals of the Resources and Development Committee and Budget and Finance Committee, their approvals won't be necessary if the authority is delegated to CPMD through the adoption of rules and regulations. So that's the only thing that needs to be done, is those rules and regulations developed. They would be approved by RDC and BNF, and then legislation would not have to come back. In the legislation in front of you, if you'll go down and you'll look at the directives, it's Directive C on page 5, Section 5C, and that directive says CPMD, Office of the Controller, and OMB shall work with DOJ to develop rules and regulations that conform with CAP 3518 to administratively approve project changes that are currently approved through committee legislation. Such rules and regulations shall be presented to the Resources and Development Committee and Budget and Finance Committee with 60 days after enactment of this legislation. So you are already well on your way to making this just an administrative matter. But the first thing that has to be done is those rules and regulations need to be developed. Approximately 2 years ago, Office of Legislative Counsel was actually working with DOJ and CPMD to develop those rules and regulations. Kristen Lowell was taking the lead. Then the pandemic happened and everything went crazy. But if CPMD will get back on board, we can get this done and you will never have to see another project change legislation. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barbara, for assisting on that clarification on page 5. Exactly where we needed that guidance, and I'm sure that we can work with CPMD, but it needs to be developed on the rules and regulations as was stated through the Office of Legislative Counsel, and then there'll be no need to drop it in the hopper, waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and finally getting it, and then going and waiting for the 5-day comment period, and then after the 5-day comment period, and hopefully that there'll be a meeting, you know, within that time frame. Because some of these projects need to move quick and fast. So if that can be done administratively, then yes, that would be great. So thank you, appreciate that, Shania, for letting me have the floor on this. So right now, this one is just to give it an additional 24 months for now. And if there's time that we want to do the administrative, I guess we have to sit down with CPMD on this. I don't want to table this or do a work session. I just want to get this thing solidified, and then we can meet back with CPMD at a later time and say, can you develop this so it'd be administratively done, which is in the directive, and then work with James Adakai and Dr. Yellowman, which can be dropped another legislation maybe so he can do that and beat me to the hopper on that.
All right.
Thank you. It's got a shorter drive to get into.
Yeah, that's where you have the advantage.
That's why I said too. That's why I said too slow, Navajo.
Further comments? We appreciate the legislation. That's it. Further comments? There being none, Ms. Chi, provide us the roll call vote, please.
Chair, roll call vote for accepting legislation number 0157-22. Article Paul Begay Jr., how do you vote?
Green.
You said green.
Okay. Article Paul Begay Jr. votes green. Article Pranal Halona, how do you vote?
Everyone goes green.
Article Pranal Halona votes green. Honorable Carl R. Slater, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Carl R. Slater votes green. Honorable Charlene So, how do you vote? Honorable Edison J. Winika, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Edison J. Winika votes green. Chair, you have 4 in favor, 0 opposed, and chair not voting.
But listen, Philip.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate it. I hear you're a student.
Exactly, that's why I came up here too.
Is this your college?
Yes, but Danae over at St. Lee's, my college.
Yeah.
I also go over to Hill behind the council chambers, which is the little office there.
Winter up campus.
Yes. I thought they had a cafeteria here because I get free lunch. And they said, there's no cafeteria.
But you ate lunch.
But I ate lunch, yes. Thank you very much. But like what was said earlier by,
Miss Crystal Carr.
yes, the tuition's all paid for.
Yes,
The dorms are paid for.
yes.
The books are paid for. The meals are paid for.
Yes.
And it's a benefit for us to take advantage of that.
Yes.
So I'm part-time and I plan to be full-time when it comes time for me to say kada. I'm done with Bishmas work for now.
And then you're gonna come back as Dr. Raymond Smith?
Not that quick. I'm going through that leadership class.
Oh, okay.
Navajo leadership.
Oh,
And the 4 elements, the way they used to govern,
yeah.
and the way we became the 38. As a matter of fact, next year is going to be our 100th anniversary. We were created 1923
Yep.
as a business council.
Yep.
So I dropped legislation for that to honor the 100 years. And now we are going to be 100 years, 2023. I just wanted to share with that.
And the chapters were developed in 1955.
Luke was the first one.
Yes.
Thank you.
John? So let me call to the table, legislation. Under new business, legislation, 7B, legislation, number 0168-22. Before I go to Ms. Angelita Bernoli, Honorable Edison Monica.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. Based on this legislation, there's amendments that were made and new manuals is going to be approved. The burial assistance and the general assistant policy manual. And so also the legislative council requested each committee member to review the proposed resolution in detail. I think that would be good to do that because there's quite a bit of changes, a lot of underscoring of the policy. So I just feel like it's going to, with visiting the 3 buildings and then coming over here in person, I think I would like to withdraw this for the next HES agenda.
I'll motion to refer it, or do you want to just? Well, if you leave, then we might lose quorum, because who knows, Chanel might leave. But I'll motion to refer 168-22 to the next HES agenda. So October 12th, I think. Well, yeah, no, not Monday, right? So the 12th.
Yeah,
October 12th.
October 12th, second.
Okay, we have a motion by Honorable Vice Chair Carl Slater to refer the legislation to the October 12th meeting. Do I hear a second? Second by Honorable Pernell Palona. Thank you, Cecilia. Honorable Monica. Yes, there is a lot of proposed deletions, and we really have to look at the impact and the results here. Without no discussion, Ms. Karen Chi provides the roll call vote on it.
Chair, roll call vote for referring 0168-22 to next Health, Education, Human Services Committee on October 12th. Honorable Paul Begay Jr., how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Paul Begay Jr. votes green. Honorable Pernell Halona, how do you vote?
Alona votes green.
Honorable Pernell Halona votes green. Honorable Carl Slater, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Carl Slater votes green. Honorable Charlene So, how do you vote? Honorable Edison J. Wanika, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Edison J. Wanika votes green. Chair, you have 4 in favor, 0 opposed, and chair not voting.
Thank you. Committee members, we basically completed our agenda. With that, we will committee members, just for your information, Dr. Ransour is driving up from Window and she wants to accompany us to the site visit for the behavioral mental health center facilities. Even though we're gonna adjourn right now, we still have the science and technology walkthrough over here, where we see the building going up, and then we will do the family Northern Treehouse shelter visit, walkthrough, and then the mental behavioral health center visit and walkthrough with ALA committee members. That will be how we proceed, even though we adjourn from this. And if there should be recommendations on those visits, we will entertain the results of our visit over at the October 12th agenda. Okay with that. And then we'll also talk about the strategy. Yes, committee members. Honorable Raymond Smith, you're welcome to accompany us on the walkthrough of the 3 facilities.
Thank you for inviting me. I'll go.
Oh, look, committee members, the chair is open for a motion to adjourn. Motion.
Motion to adjourn, Delegate Paul Begay.
I'll recognize the second by Honorable Paul Begay. Motion to adjourn offers no discussion. Ms. Karen Chi, please provide the roll call vote.
Chair, roll call vote, motion to adjourn. Honorable Paul Begay Jr., how do you vote?
Delegate Paul Begay votes green.
Honorable Paul Begay Jr. votes green. Honorable Pernell Halona, how do you vote?
Alona votes green.
Honorable Pernell Halona votes green. Honorable Carl Slater, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Carl Slater votes green. Honorable Charlene So, how do you vote? Honorable Edison J. Wanika, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Edison J. Wanika votes green. Chair, you have 4 in favor, 0 opposed, and chair not voting.
Thank you, committee members, and thank you for to all the folks on the call. We appreciate your attendance. And as your name appeared on the screen, Ms. Chi put you on the attendance list. Thank you. With that, we are adjourned. We are adjourned at 1:58, but the work of the committee will continue to visit the 3 facilities and to visit the 2 programs. Thank you. We are adjourned.
we're starting at, Chibrook at the hedges. The science, we could put a science book.
We'll go, which is closer, Shadeja? Your facility or the mental health
They're
center?
both at the same distance, they're right across the street from one another.
On the west side of 491.
Yeah, the north, going towards the hospital.
Okay,
Yeah, before getting to the hospital, I don't know if you want me to wait or do you want to meet me over there to take you to the shelter?
okay. The hospital has its own entrance.
Yeah,
Do we go in that entrance or the one before?
you're gonna go to, do you guys, well, there's that dental right on the right side, the hospital.
Something's from the Jones
Yeah,
now
you're gonna take that turn off to the right.
to the right.
You're gonna go towards west, no, east, you're gonna towards east, and
Yeah.
then you're gonna go past the school.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna come into a V. And it's gonna come a dirt road, and it's gonna be on the left, right off of that left, there's a, big old fencing with black lining, there's a security hut there, and then your doctor is right there off the road. So,
Okay, you got it? Okay.
Yeah, we'll find you.
Oh, there's a church over there too. What was the name of that church?
The, Bethel?
I think so, yeah.
Is Eugenia Charles live? Is donkeys up there?
No, she's in the valley somewhere on, Farm Road.
Mr. Leon Jackson is coming over. He's gonna guide you all to toward the new facility.
We're going to your place first. Trudy, we're going to your place first.
I think you're gonna do it at the next college first, and then you're gonna head to the shelter, and then you need to. Right?
Yeah, just turn it out at the office.
I think it'd be easier. I don't know if you want me just to wait. I want you guys to get along.
When he comes back, I'll ask him.
Get there fast.
Yeah, maybe I'll just wait for you guys in the parking lot. Turn it off?
Yes.
My hot rod.